to read it out.
No.
Uh-oh. It says this hangout is on air live. I guess that means I did it. I don't know. I have to go look at my channel and see, right? Like, am I here? Am I live? I don't know.
We're live. It's there.
Oh, I see it there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, good evening to everybody. I am Sister Danger, and this is my very first live hangout. So I've never done this before, and I'm here with some of my friends this evening. One of them, I guess maybe I'll just let you guys introduce yourselves and say whatever you want. So go ahead and speak for yourselves, gentlemen. Oh, great.
Well, all right.
Somebody go first.
My name is Michael, and my YouTube channel is Newton File. I'm a science nerd, so that's just me.
I'm Brian. I don't have a YouTube channel, and I guess I'm going to be representing the stoner community on this one.
I am Nathan Brendan Masters. My channel is Nathan Brendan Masters, and also Time Code Mechanics. Time Code Mechanics has my films and entertainment videos, and my Nathan Brendan Masters channel is my vlogging channel. So there you have it.
Well, so basically, I just had some topics over the course of the weekend that, there was all kinds of news and things that were really irritating. Too many things to actually make an individual video about. So I decided that I would try to live stream for the first time and just kind of get people together to talk about some of the things that have been going on there. Rankle me, so I don't know. These guys, though, they have no idea what I'm about to spring on them, so I'm kidding. That's not true. Okay, so you guys kind of have a heads up, obviously, on the topics that I wanted to. I'm seriously trying to find my own video on my channel, and I fucking can't, and it's like annoying the shit out of me.
Oh, I found it.
I can't find it. I don't know where to look.
Well, just
I can find
channel.
my videos, but I can't find like the current one playing, I guess. So I'm like, where do I find that? I don't know. Because oh, there it is. Yay, I found it. Okay, now let's put this there we go. Oh, and hello, Merely. Thanks for joining. So the two primary topics that I just pissed me off over the weekend were, the first one, I guess, was the Dear Parents, the Cosmopolitan article that came out about not celebrating your baby's gender. And then the other one that I saw going around was an article that a gal writ, and she had taken a photograph of her husband and her son, and then it got pulled down off the internet because they were naked together in the shower, even though no naughty bits were showing, and people just thought that this was wildly inappropriate. And this topic always pisses me off. So so which one do you guys prefer first?
It's up to you. It's your stream. You call it.
Why don't you do them in the order you mentioned them?
There we go.
What'd you say?
Just go in the order that you mentioned them.
Okay, well, I guess then that takes us to Cosmopolitan and the whole stupid. That's my opinion. All right, next topic. It's retarded and I hate it.
We're efficient on this one.
It's not politically incorrect.
Oh my goodness. Well, so I guess maybe, I'm not sure how to share screens, but I guess I can kind of read the article a little bit, right? Or I could just sort of sum it up. But
if you go to the
just to summarize it, because I don't want to read this whole damn thing, but the author of the article is talking about how parents shouldn't be, like, all of these stupid gender reveal parties are a terrible thing, and shouldn't do them. And let's see, I'll try to pick something at a time when work, family obligations, and the dismantling of the patriarchal social structures are stretching us all thinner than Anne Hathaway in Les Miserables. I don't really like Les Miserables. It's really sad anyway. So why are we focusing our energies on yet another afternoon of baby, I don't even know what this word is, bagatelle. What is a bagatelle? And so she kind of just has this big old chip on her shoulder about these gender reveal parties. And I started talking about it with friends, and I don't know, I guess I didn't see the problem with having a gender reveal party about about your baby. And she says, for starters, gender reveal parties don't actually reveal gender. They reveal anatomy. Gender is a wholly different thing, inextricably tied to the social constructs around it. Fun fact, blue used to be the color most associated with little girls due to its association with the Virgin Mary. But Hitler, yes, Hitler, feminized the color pink. God, that pisses me off.
Yes, it's true. Pink used to be associated with boys because.
But it wasn't. But that was before Hitler. Way before, centuries before Hitler.
Right. It was all because red was men.
Hitler in there.
Yeah, right. Like you gotta get what is that internet law about whenever Hitler's gets dropped?
Everybody, I disagree with this Hitler.
Right. Also in that time, every baby under the age of 10 was a girl.
Oh yeah, because you weren't considered to be a boy until you hit the age of majority.
You weren't a boy until you were given a job helping somebody else.
Well, yeah, I guess that means that back then, what with child labor laws, you could be a boy at like 4.
Well, mostly it was because you were being apprenticed out or something, and then your title became
in the coal mine.
Right.
Yes, Godwin's law. Thank you, Merely. That's right, Godwin's law.
So I think the whole gender reveal party is sort of part of this this thing that happens in throughout life most of the time, and this is what baptisms and stuff like that are all about. It's here's my baby, look, we're now a family, come celebrate with us. And it is this event that you're trying to mark, right?
Well, the gender reveal is slightly different than the baby shower, is my understanding, is that they're two sort of separate events, and it's sort of starting to like piggyback and stack on each other so you can continue to exploit the I'm having a baby attention. And that's a point she sort of brings up in her article.
Yeah, but baby showers are before the baby is born. This is an event that are gender reveal parties after the baby is born?
My understanding is it's still it's before birth.
It's before birth, but after the parents discover, through whatever test occurs. I don't have kids. So
a lot of times it's how the parents will find out the gender themselves, is like they'll get like a baseball and their friends will fill it with the color because one of the friends knows the gender, and then when they like break the baseball open, they reveal the color because they see pink or blue. And then the parents get to go, yay.
I'm sorry. I'm totally just like imagining like
this actually just happened.
Pinata gender reveal party, right? Where you're just like bashing a little baby pinata until it's blue or pink.
That's what it is. There's cutting into cakes. There's baseballs. There's all sorts of ridiculous things. But yeah.
So I'm a parent, and I've gone through the whole birth process, in which case we found out when the doctors told us, they go, here, look, the baby's healthy on the ultrasound. Oh, look, and here's her girl parts. That's basically that's how we found out. And then we basically just told everybody afterwards. We didn't see any reason to hide it or anything.
I think it's just another reason to have a party. I don't see what the big why. It's like nowadays everything, and it's funny, I kind of mentioned this kind of thing earlier today, but it's like everything now, it has to have some form of political bullshit attached to it. And it's like, it's another reason to have a freaking party. Like, how are you putting this much thought. And this is how you know that you live in a pretty good society when you have time to put this much thought into this kind of bullshit. It's like the report party. That's what
first world.
right now. What we gotta get. That's what we gotta stop. The thing right now.
Do you think that the person who wrote this article just had trouble finding a gift?
I think she's just mad about the games they made her play.
Use clicks right then, and they were like, "What can I come up with to get some clicks? Let me come pull something out of my ass. Here we go, gender reveal. That's what it's all about. Let's do that." So that's my take on that's like my take on everything nowadays. So.
I guess I just like this business about, for starters, gender reveal parties don't actually reveal gender; they reveal anatomy. So this pisses me off, right? It pisses me off because basically they're implying that who knows what gender, and I guess that's true. Your child could grow up and decide that they are transgender. I guess
they're one of the 2% of the population or whatever.
Right. Which is fine, but I don't understand what difference it makes if the parents want to celebrate one gender or the other as best as they are aware before the fucking kid is born. It's not as if the baby knows they're inside the womb that we had a girl gender party for you, right? I don't know. God, it's just so, like, let people be okay with it. I hate the notion that somehow it's not okay to be okay in your own skin. If you're, God, there's so many.
Well, but isn't she sort of trying to make the argument of that, of trying to like encourage people to feel okay, and that that trying to, like, I know she makes points about how like getting presents for the child, that is like boys get badges and girls get like clothes and things of that such, and sort of playing into how it can continue on past that and stuff like that. I don't agree with her viewpoints on it. I just know that those are arguments she's making for it.
They all seem like dead in the water arguments to me, though. Right? I mean, if your concern is that somebody's going to get the wrong thing, then why don't you just be like, buy whatever you guys think is appropriate and include a gift receipt?
Well, exactly. The real issue I have with the article like this is that they don't offer solutions or alternatives. It's just, don't do this because I don't like it. Although she's really just mad about certain aspects of it and doesn't address them specifically and say, hey, maybe we can address these aspects differently. She just says, as a whole, it's bad because I don't like this with it.
Do you think you would want to have a gender reveal party?
No. I just don't want to spend the money on it.
The party was that everybody else spends the money on you.
Well,
no, those are baby showers.
That's right. Baby showers are where you get the supplies for the baby. It's pretty much how that's supposed to work.
I don't know. I don't have any babies, so I'm not sure, but.
But little bit of a funny story for me and my ex-wife. Our baby shower was on a particular day. The night before, my ex-wife had gone into labor. So we were at the hospital the night before. We got released from the hospital less than 45 minutes before the party.
I don't understand. Like, was the baby born?
No, the baby didn't make it to the baby shower, but because labor had started and then stopped.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought you went into labor and then there was a baby next. I didn't realize, that labor was like the clap.
So if your body just stops going through the process, then the baby doesn't get born.
Don't you just have to kind of wait for it to?
Yeah. So you tend to go to the hospital when contractions reach a certain distance apart and duration, right? And then there's the cervix has to expand and thin out. They call that effacing, I think. Anyway, the point is if it doesn't go through all those stages, it just stops a few hours later. Then it's over. You go home.
So Merely says in the chat that there seems to be a distaste at the idea of assuming gender, even though the child is statistically unlikely to have dysphoria or identify as another gender when they grow up.
Well, then won't they also be bothered when you purposely avoided their gender and when they do identify as the gender their anatomy matches? So, like,
well, I like my immediate response to that is kind of like, well, how many people do you know in life? They're like, I fucking hate my name. My parents gave me the dumbest name. You know, right? I mean, hey, Data, how's it going? So I guess that I guess I kind of think to myself again, what's wrong with doing what you can according to, you know, I guess the best things that you would do as a parent, right? It's not going to hurt. It's not going to affect the baby in any way, shape, or form. You know, if you're all worried about having the wrong things bought, then why don't you just straight up, if that is your concern, straight up ask for a gift receipt and just point people at your directory. Here it is. These are the things to buy me. Right?
Actually, ironically, picking a name.
Say that again.
Or better yet, a gift card. Just say, hey.
Oh yeah, gift card.
Boom. Buy what you want.
Actually, picking a name is real important because it has huge effects on their life afterwards. I recommend Freakonomics. It has a great chapter about how the name you give a child has huge effects on their ability to earn money later.
Yep.
What?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And it can have an effect on the child's psyche themselves too.
So, for example, if they have a weird spelling of a name, that has a negative impact. If their name is non-traditional, that's bad. If it's particularly rare, that's also bad.
You keep it basic and easy to pronounce, and you're good.
And with normal spelling, so that also there's a slight advantage to being early in the alphabet.
To being what?
Early in the alphabet.
And that's also true with certain distribution. Like if you're distributing certain project or products and they have a catalog, it's true for that too. If you're early in the alphabet, people are more likely to see your stuff.
That's right.
I know that was just random, but that's
total aside. Freakonomics spends a whole chapter on how names affect children growing up. It's a bigger effect than reading to them. And only slightly bigger than possessing a lot of books in your home, because apparently that's even better than reading to them.
Wait, what's better than reading?
Having books in your home.
Wait, what's better than reading? I'm sorry, did you hear my question the first time?
Having books in your home is a better effect on children's education than actually reading to them.
Just being a dick.
It normalizes reading as something that you're supposed to do.
Right.
As a matter of fact, when I used to write, one of the things I would do is when Borders was around, I would go to Borders and just kind of sit there and maybe flip through some books and stuff, and I would get inspired to write versus sitting at home and just twiddling my thumbs. And I would usually come up with a story. So it's actually something to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even going to count how many years ago it was because that just seems like bad news bears. But several years ago, I was at a convention and Ari Burke, who's a fantasy writer, at least that's what I know him from. He was on one of the panels and he said something real similar. He said, there's no excuse for having writer's block, that if you ever suffer from writer's block, go look at the nearest book, go pick up the nearest book you have in your library and just start reading until you know what you want to write again, and then go back to writing. Maybe Daddy 05, Guide the
Think
Parent.
about the kind of genre you want to write in, and grab a bunch of books. It doesn't have to be particularly from that genre, but stuff that's interesting to you, and you start your mind just starts switching on and thinking about stuff, and start writing stuff. Now, whether you actually do anything with it or not, that's that's a different story. But it does get you on the path,
Yeah.
to writing.
I'm just gonna say to Data there in the chat that those people make me so angry. Daddy 05 makes me very, very angry. I don't care if they say that they're just joking or their kids are in on it or whatever. At some point, that at some point, the lines blur. You know, adults have a hard enough time separating. You know, people who are in any kind of film or acting industry have a have a hard enough time separating very often once they start becoming famous and themselves from their characters, and you know, they're really, God, you don't even have to go into that. You just have to look at your local LARP game and you will see how much trouble people have separating their characters from reality. And then to have just like this little kid who is constantly being berated. Oh, those people make me very, very, very angry. But aren't they supposed? Sorry, go ahead.
No, they came like they don't have the kids.
It's 9 o'clock
anymore, but they are back on YouTube. I think they're doing gaming now, but the kids are done. So Daddy 05 is back, and I think Mommy 05, but the kids aren't in videos anymore. But it was ridiculous that the stuff they were doing stayed up so long, and there were people like defending them, like, "Hey, this is just entertainment." It's like, no, this is a bit much, if you will. And so, luckily, people, and there were people who actually had talked about it before. I can't think of the guy's name. I want to say Parasitical, but I think I Am Alex talked about it, or one of the commentators, the YouTube commentators talked about it, and then Philip DeFranco. I don't think it got big until Philip DeFranco talked about it, but people had talked about Daniel 5 before and were like, "What the hell is this?" And nothing was done about it until Philip DeFranco actually talked about it. So it was.
I think I was watching Base Mama's channel a few days ago, and she was talking about how they aren't even supposed to be on YouTube right now. That whatever court order they've got while things are being investigated, that they're supposed to not even be putting any videos up. So I'm kind of curious as to whether or not that's what the story is there. I don't know. I really hate to. I don't know. After watching a lot of going through their stuff, I came to the conclusion that it was too much, and that it would be too psychologically confusing for those kids to, over a long period of time, be able to suss out one thing from the other. But I like to be slow, I guess, to kind of make decisions like that, because I've seen CPS go after people for really ridiculous things. I mean, very ridiculous things. Perfectly legit parents who the only thing that happened was an outside observer saw them, parent A, speak to their child in a way that outside observer didn't think was okay, and they took it upon themselves to call CPS. And the next thing you know, now this parent with whom there's they're a normal parent is just, I would lose my mind if that was me. I would be so angry,
Plus, I worry about the normalization. Let's say, for example, that let's imagine that their videos were all innocent and the kids were all, in fact, in on it. But that opens the door for that. Let's say the mother or whatever wanted to be abusive. Now all she has to do is just carry a camera, and then the kids won't think that there's anything wrong with what's going on, and so they're
being told something else.
Right.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Right. It just opens this floodgates of possibilities that abuse could come.
As well as future emulation.
Right. Exactly.
And the idea that somehow it's entertainment to watch kids being abused. It's actually I was kind of shocked that anybody thought that was okay. It makes you question who's watching that channel, and well, I guess if you thought that was okay, I guess that said it all. But it just seemed odd that there were people who just kind of thought that this is just good old YouTube entertainment, and there's nothing wrong with it. It was so out of left field that we just seeing the videos that everybody saw, the ones that were the most that were shown, most of the time. To me, that was like, I don't understand how anybody excuse those videos. I don't know. I just looked at that like, there's a point when you go, okay, this is over the top, and it was over the top like a long time ago. It wasn't like just, oh, this was an isolated incident or something. No, it was over the top several times in a long time of, before they actually got busted. So it wasn't like some isolated stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely watched several of their videos because I've also seen, on yon interwebs where somebody will film a 2-year-old having a meltdown in the grocery store, and then 3 million people all have to chime in with what a shitty parent that is because, oh my God, look at that spoiled little brat, like screaming in the grocery store, blah, 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 blah. Terrible parents, when who knows, man, it's a 2-year-old. They melt down, like some days are just bad days, but then people take that, so that kind of is hearkening though to what I was saying, that I like to be sort of slow. And so when the Daddy-O5 thing came out, I did go and watch a bunch of those videos. And then I don't know. I agree though. After watching multiples of those videos, I didn't know how anybody could think that was an acceptable thing to do repetitively to those kids. And I hadn't even thought of it the way that you were saying. I hadn't even thought of it, the just like behavior that might be emulated, how it normalizes that kind of behavior to the kids, such that when they're not on camera, they then are less likely to question it. And those are bad. Mister, you have a dark turn of mind.
Sorry about that.
Oh man. So okay, well, I guess like that's that. So okay, what's the final vote? So if you guys were having a baby, would you do a gender reveal party?
No, but I think they're okay if people want to do them.
I would have no. I'm sorry. There's random stuff over here going on. But I personally would have no problem doing one. It wouldn't be something that would jump out to me as like a thing that had to be done, but I would personally have no issue with it.
I probably wouldn't do a gender reveal party. Maybe some sort of small, low-key, like over social media or something very subtle. But I have no problem with people doing them or going over the top with them. I think this lady's just reaching.
She's got to pump out like a X number of words per day in order to get paid by, I guess, Cosmo. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I'm all about doing my gender reveal party as long as it can be like the Rammstein style gender reveal party, right? Where I just like blow up little baby heads and the color that comes out. If I can do it like that, just like, which actually happened. I went to a Rammstein concert, and somewhere during the course of this concert, they had a string of these baby dolls that had just been, who knows, like just, they were burnt and whatever, but just as this string of baby dolls. And then one by one, they exploded out onto the ground. Like little fireworks just out onto the crowd. It was great. Go Rammstein.
That's like a name I haven't heard in like years.
So if I could do my gender reveal party like that, then I would.
It's pretty epic, really.
Maybe I should go the feminist route if I was gonna do it, and instead just get like a giant vagina, and it can explode outwards with the color of the baby.
Make sure you record that. That's some good YouTube ad revenue right there. Put that on.
Maybe if you put the baby's gender inside a giant vagina, then all of the feminists will like it again. They'll be like, yeah, it's a giant pussy party. Woohoo! We could put a pink hat on top of it, you know.
You can make the giant vagina a room that people can tour into to see what gender the baby is.
The fucking gender reveal museum, like
part some curtains and go in.
I think you're starting to objectify. I don't know.
Oh my god. It's so awesome. I don't know what to think about that. Like, I really like that idea, right? Like you go in and it's like this interactive thing at the museum where you're pressing the buttons and it's telling you all about, you know, how gender is just a social construct, right? But you push the button and like highlights the little, you know, symbols for the genders, which
press this button to hear the heartbeat. You know, like
you're giving somebody ideas right now. You're totally giving somebody ideas.
You know,
in that case, they should invite us.
Fucking Penham can get like millions of dollars in order to build a ginormous ark in the middle of fucking Kentucky that nobody wants to go see. I am sure that some feminist group out there can do the same thing to build a giant vajaya in the middle of wherever that nobody is gonna want to go see.
Like, I think people would go see that.
I think people might go see that.
You might need the little turn counters and
you can
get your photo taken with it.
World records, right? Like how many people have penetrated this vagina? Like
you can make a whole hashtag contest on the way in, like like hashtag giant I don't know, like hashtag enter the vagina or something. I don't know. People do selfies right out in front.
Oh my god! Wow. You know, we might actually be. What if we built that theme park and then invited all the feminists? I mean, is there a reason that somebody else has to take this idea? We can do it ourselves.
We're gonna make it a whole theme park now.
Well, like,
will there be rides?
Of course there'll be rides.
Can we have a roller coaster with like penis-shaped carts that just into
and at the end they hit water.
This is a sci-fi film.
That's fucked up.
Or the ride next door hits chocolate pudding.
Ooh.
Out of your car, someone hands you a towel. Here you go.
their ideas here. This could be a theme park. We could just raise the $120 million that Ken Ham got and go from there.
Oh, there's a lot of money out there for feminism, that's for sure. We should know this. I mean, somebody paid another person to write that bullshit in Cosmo. So there's got to be money out there for a giant Vijaya theme park. Oh my God.
Look, about this. I'm thinking about this. I'm like, that would fly. Something like Kickstarter for that. And
Kickstarter.
You get somebody who's got
the lickety split.
Off this up. And this is an idea. This is an idea that's waiting to happen. There's money in this.
We can name our theme park diner the Y. Oh man. Whew. I'm so sorry I keep coughing at you guys. Oh, I still have the last little tiny remnants of that stupid bronchitis. When I laugh too much, it comes out. And I pee a little from my vagina. I don't actually. I'm past that part.
There's like people walking in the middle of this going, what the hell is going on?
Not what was advertised. It's inventive.
These ideas have merit, I think. Something could be done with this.
If we do a theme park like this, can we do a gender reveal party on it? Like, we'll cut the pink or the blue tape.
We can charge a lot of money for like party rooms for that gender reveal party room. We could just $500 a day. We can make all kind of money on that.
With that,
now you got me thinking. Okay,
that one can be randomized though, so that it doesn't have to be the same every time each person goes.
There you go.
More cyclic business that way.
Wow.
Let's make this happen.
Oh my God. Whew, I'm gonna laugh myself to death. Okay, Data. We can have a mama rail driving around. People can watch things on the boob tube. Oh my God. That's so awesome. Always got something up our wizard's sleeve. Ooh. Oh man. Okay. Whew. Take it a break. That was kind of funny. A descent into darkness right there. Have I mentioned that I love having you guys as my friends because you're all fucked up and twisted like I am? So. At this park, we invite you to look behind the curtain. The curtain. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm totally just like imagining having to go into a room where you actually have to, like, those beatings, you actually have to part the curtain to go through.
This thing is going to be created by the very feminists that funded it. I see this right. They're going to walk in and see this and go, what the hell did we fund? No. We'll be open for one day and then we're done.
You know, the only way to protect this idea is to patent it. But I'm just wondering how that would be submitted to the U.S. Patent. you know, one of the things you have to do to submit a patent is include visual diagrams. Very specific visual diagrams, because if somebody else comes up with an idea that looks similar to yours but is slightly different, they can do it too. Our vagina has an anatomically correct clitoris. Ring the bell as you go in. Bing.
Will that be our strength tester? He's just swinging a hammer and it hits the clitoris.
Hit the G-spot.
Because that's what the clitoris is.
Oh my god, I'm getting something to drink. I drank all of, like, almost all of it. So I've got, like, a swallow left. Oh my god.
We had topics for this, I think.
You make me snarf this. You're buying a new LED glowing rainbow keyboard for me. Because, you know, my keyboard's awesome and I don't want to destroy it. Flick the bean. Right next door, Busch Gardens.
I just caught that.
I would mute it so you guys didn't have to hear, but I'm like laughing in convulsions over here. I can barely put the thing in my mouth, let alone fuck around with my keyboard. Goodbye.
I tried to let that skate by, and I'm like, somebody's gonna hit it. I'm gonna, boom.
Oh man. Okay. Is a tunnel of love ride at this park redundant? Yeah, I am not sure a tunnel of love ride works because we all know that all men, by virtue of being men, can't love anything except their own male selfness, because that's what Valerie Solanas wrote in a paper once. So right before shooting some dude.
What?
It was Valerie Solanas, wasn't it?
Yes, she did in fact write that, and then she tried to kill Andy Warhol.
No, she did kill Andy Warhol.
No, she shot him, but he didn't die.
Die because of it?
No.
Oh, so she's a failure at murder too. Great. She can't write and she can't kill people. Fuck.
Is that the woman who wrote the
Scum Manifesto?
Yeah. Wow. I saw a movie about her.
If you've never read it, you should. But it's not that long, but I challenge you to get through it in one sitting, because I think it took me about 4 different sittings, because I would read it and I'd get about 4 paragraphs in and I'm like, fuck, this is so much bullshit. God damn it, it's just pissing me off. And I'd put it down and I'd come back. They'd be like, okay, pick it up, start reading it. I'd be like, now it's just like, it's not just angry bullshit. It's like angry metaphysical bullshit. It's like stacking the bullshit, right? I don't know. She just like, it makes up the craziest stuff. And it's just pure vitriol. So
she could have got that Kickstarter thing. That's see? You got stuff like that. That's where the money's at. You got to come up with some kind of crazy divisive thing. It's money in the bank. Money in the bank. Somebody's gonna say, "Hey, that sounds interesting. Let me give you 200,000. Surely, that's gonna turn some heads." And that's pretty much where it's done. You find the silliest stuff, and just like the article we were talking about, you come up with something.
Or like you could promise to make a bunch of videos about how women are treated in video games. People can give you $500,000, and you can never finish it.
Okay. For let everybody see. I did not bring that up. It wasn't Nathyn that brought it up.
Yeah, I guess that you kind of got in trouble for talking about that recently, didn't you, Nathyn?
Yes, I want everybody to know. I was sitting here, I was chilling, I'm uploading photos right now. Did not bring that up. Just so everybody will know. It was in my mind, didn't bring it up.
That's right. Sorry, I jumped on that grenade.
I really did forget that yesterday was Tuesday and that I was going to make a response video, and then it was the middle of the night, and I was like, oh, it's Tuesday for like another hour. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should like kind of piggyback maybe on another day, the way that sometimes you let me do that when I forget. And I'm like, can I upload on your day? Because I'm a douche.
I think one of those days, I don't know if Got That Funk has a guest for one of those days. You can ask him if he has all the days filled, because let's see, I don't know who's coming up Friday, because I think JJ Talks is tomorrow, right? And I don't know who's up Friday.
You know, the thing that is, I feel like it's not just you though. I mean, my first video on the on the channel was basically making fun of JJ making fun of Steve. So I don't know. I guess I fall into, at least a little bit, maybe less recently, but at least a little bit, I fall into the primary offenders category.
But I tell you, something funny about that. It's like I actually met, or at least spoke to JJ Talks before I ever knew anything about the Breakfast Club, and it was weird. They were doing this message to, what was it, the message to the feminist hashtag or something.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, like, she said she was going to do it, and I just randomly was like, "Hey, tag me in that." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And so it's like I had seen her videos before, but I was just like, "You tag me." And so that's how we act. And then apparently, I guess her day originally was Wednesday, I guess. And,
oh no, her day was Tuesday. That's why I was making, because I took over her original day.
Okay.
When I started.
So. Okay. All right. So that was, and then like now she's like on the next day after me. It's just so weird. I was like, wow, that's that was strange for some reason, because it was just so odd. I just, for some reason, I just said that one right there. Let me start. Let me just say something to her, and the rest is history. I doubt she remembers that. She's probably like, "This is Nathyn," but that was just a thing for some reason.
Well, the only thing I knew of her before the Breakfast Club was that, for whatever reason, at that time, everybody else in the skeptic community was all abuzz talking about her or whatever, and she kind of was being ripped on a lot as this girl who was like this pretty young 20-something girl. I don't actually know how old she is. I assume that's how old she is, somewhere in her 20s, and and all these guys white knighting for her because they all want to get in her pants or whatever. And so I never really had watched any of her videos or anything. I still hadn't watched any of her videos. I literally, when I made my very first video, so Steve Shives, I guess, he had the day before she had it on the channel. And so Steve Shives had it, and he used to always start off by taking a sip out of his coffee mug. So when JJ took over for Steve, her first video was taking a sip out of her coffee mug. So when I started on that day, I had a coffee mug, but I had on the front of mine written "blocked by Steve." And I took a sip out of the coffee mug because, well, I was #blocked by Steve, and I just thought that there was great irony there. But since she's come back to the channel, though, I watch her videos and I like the things she has to say. So I'm not sure why everybody was ripping on her, except for maybe they were jealous, because I kind of like this. I mean, sometimes it might be a little too millennial, you know, white gloved for me, but I don't think, you know, sort of like with Lacey Green, that it's, you know, maybe I'm like, well, it's a little too white glove for me, but I certainly don't think anything's coming from a bad place, right? I think that she's thoughtful and well-intentioned and, you know, at least willing to be introspective and just consider stuff. I don't know. I like her videos. So
that's new on that's new on a commentary channel. Definitely. You try to get somebody to actually be introspective nowadays, and just even all my words are are leaving me right now. But just, you know, somebody just being self-aware. You know, I watch so many videos where people are like talking about things, and it's almost like, wow, you realize you're talking about yourself, right? And it's just the self-awareness is just not, it's not there. It's nowhere in sight. And I see it all the time. And, you know, like, I know some people play it for laughs, but there are people who are like actually totally, you know, serious. And the self-awareness is like, you know, it's just, it's not there. It's just
his
wow.
whole I know that we kind of like totally just steered away from a topic that probably Newt and Brian, you guys don't have very much to, well, you might, Newt, but Brian, you probably have no clue what we're talking about. But
yeah, I'm definitely lost.
You know, I watched Sirius's video, and I wish that I had the, I guess I was just watching it. It's actually one of the things that has sort of been, you know, I know that I've had that other article that I wanted to talk about, but this is also one of the things that has been driving me nuts lately, especially with the whole business between Anita Sarkeesian and Sargon at VidCon. One of the things that's been driving me nuts is actually what Sirius was saying, right? He's talking about how, you know, he's like, it seems like the other side is doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. And I watched his video and I thought, if that was you or I, Nathyn, saying that, right, it would sound exactly the same, because both sides, if you will, all have assholes and trolls on them of any issue. Like, if you're pro-choice or, you know, not, if you're pro-gay marriage or not, or if you're atheist or religious, you know, like, it doesn't matter. Whatever the divide is, there are fucking assholes on both sides of it every time. And the thing that pisses me off is when either side, especially my own side, though, because, you know, you kind of want your own side to stand your own side, you know what I mean, but to stand strong, right? You know, but it pisses me off when people say, like, after the Sargon Anita thing, I saw Kevin Logan say, I think on some thread on Christy Winter's Twitter, he's like, if this was anyone, he's like, you guys all do the same exact thing. You can't tell me that, you know, so-and-so hasn't done blah, blah, blah. And I hate that.
Kevin Logan.
Argument. It makes me mad when people make that argument. Like,
what's that? The two-toke?
Yes.
It's okay because you do it too?
Yes. Well,
Kevin Logan, like, I saw a video like where Kevin Logan was just saying some just really off the cuff shit about Sean Head, and I was like, that shit's not nice. You know, it was like,
right.
It was like just, I was like, and so, you know, if people are gonna say, particularly when we talk about personal attacks and stuff, people say, well, you know, attack the argument, not the person, which I'm all for. But then, you know, you get to these people who, when, like, if they're gonna, you know, their whole argument seems to be hey, these people are mean and these people are vile, and we shouldn't talk to them because they're bad. And then you see videos where people are saying some things that are like, it's like shit I wouldn't say about people, and
Right.
I'll say some stuff, but it was like, wow, dude, you just went there, and we're talking about people who a lot of these people, their worst crime is they disagree with something. It's like the worst thing they've done is I disagree with that guy, and then you go and you say, this is why I disagree, and that's about as bad. And the reaction is so over the top. You sit there and you're like, that's a bit much for what this person said.
Yeah.
It's a little much, and I've seen that so many times with people who are just having. And one of the things that I tend to talk about is the fact that people have this way of always looking at the other side and saying, okay, they do this, we never do that, and right now the excuse. Now I made a comment about people not talking to one another. And whether it's people on one side, but even YouTube, we know how we are at YouTube. When YouTube does something crazy, everybody assumes that they have nefarious reasons for doing it.
Yeah,
Why?
there's no benefit of the doubt given to people. People just skip like. I agree. They assume the worst, and then they skip from 0 straight to nuclear. Like destroy this person's life. Hey, Prince, what's up? And it's really not balanced. I agree. It's not balanced at all. I really dislike part of the reason I dislike the tu quoque fallacy, if you will, the it's okay for me to do it because you guys do it, is because I actually find that mindset somewhat frightening. It basically means that the person who is taking the action is not, when they are on their good behavior, they are not on their good behavior because they agree with, I guess, the moral principles of being kind, or respectful or whatever it is, right? Just at least polite at a bare minimum to their fellow person. They're on this good behavior because this is in some way, shape, or form what gets them recognition, or et cetera, et cetera. But it isn't for the reason of the morality of the behavior. Because if it was, then even when they have cause to, even when they can say, well, you just did this to me, that is the point in time when you know that someone is taking an action that is a law of the jungle versus a more enlightened morality, like a more civilized morality, to my mind. And so if you take away the social repercussions that somebody would have for their bad behavior, that means they're going to just do it all the time because they weren't behaving well for the right reasons in the first place. Was that a really long-winded? Did anybody get what I was saying?
No, I get what you're saying. It is a clear sign that they don't really have a moral compass. They're not objecting to the other person's behavior because of the morality of it. They're objecting to their behavior because they just don't like it, and so they're doing it in retribution, right? So if they really thought there was something wrong with that behavior, then they couldn't do it themselves. It's sort of a misapplication of the golden rule. Like it's applying the golden rule on somebody else and not yourself. So I was just about to repeat myself, so I stopped myself.
It totally kills the idea of actually having any kind of. It's like the whole reason you say an action is bad is because it is bad.
So in and of itself, yes.
Right. When you say it's bad, and then you say, okay, but since it's bad, I'm going to do it too because you did it. Now, okay, here's the see, I have two arguments on this, all right? My argument is, yes, the action is still bad. But my other argument is the person who did the bad action first can't complain either, because if you're gonna be the person that started off, you want to be the example. So when you do something bad, and then I have to have two ways of thinking about that, because I'm kind of like, you did something bad, and now you want to be the person to kind of be like shocked and amazed that someone's being bad to you. But at the same time, the very fact that the action is bad is why neither person should be doing it. I do kind of get amused by people who do things and then they get shocked and amazed that someone's doing the equal thing to them. They're doing the exact same thing to them, and they're like, "How are you doing this to me?"
Well,
Really?
you lose ground. What is that saying? He who throws dirt loses ground.
Right.
And we do. Anytime we engage in that behavior, regardless of whether or not they did it first, we basically lose whatever grounds for the point that we would have been making to begin with. Well, I'm just gonna step away for 2 seconds so I can go put my cat on his leash outside, because he is looking like he wants to go out the door. So I'm just gonna, hi Prince, welcome. I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Hey, Prince.
Hi, Prince.
Hey, Chris.
Let me try to put on my headset. My headset's all broken, so it takes a second. I have to put it back together first.
I understand. I've liberally applied duct tape to mine. So.
Wait a minute. Hey, is that Prince of Queens going on there?
Yeah.
Hey!
Hi.
I don't know you. I just see you pop up in chats all the time. I'm like, hey, that guy. I know your avatar. Nice to meet you.
Well, yeah, nice to meet you. Are you guys all have channels?
Yes.
I don't.
Brian doesn't. Get a channel, Brian. What are you doing? Get a channel.
Nah, I'm one of those people who goes outside. I'm weird.
I have a channel, Newton File, but I haven't started making videos yet.
I've definitely done. Hold on, my headset is on now. I'm one of those people that came from pretty far leftist background, and then everybody I knew became SJWs, at least 75% SJW, and it was like, wait, I just can't talk to you people anymore. I literally have anxiety trying to just have a conversation with you, and then it got to the point where it was like, okay, I can't go out to bars. I almost threw a drink on some fucking drag queen, because within about 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes of me talking to this bitch, and this is a white bitch who's a drag queen, she starts complaining about privileged white males and how white males are privileged and they all suck. And I'm like, I'm a white male, and and then I realized, I'm like, okay, if I hear another fucking just random person at a gay bar complaining about how much they hate white men, and they're a white man, I'm going to get in a fight with them eventually, because it's you're just such a fucking idiot. I have no tolerance for it anymore.
Can we walk around and hand razors to people like that? They're like, I hate white men, but they're like a white man. Here you go, kill yourself. Just start. You know what? Lead by example.
Well, yeah, it's people who, I mean, I will admit that there's been periods in my life where I talked shit about, random stupid frat dude white guys and I'll still do it. But when it comes to this constant, it's become culturally acceptable to just say, oh yeah, all white men are privileged and they all suck. And and then people just say that like it's a point, and it's like, okay, you're just a fucking idiot, and I would rather be on YouTube and not go to bars, because eventually I will throw a drink on one of these people because I can't do it anymore. So that's what, yeah. It changes your life.
It's like it's just the next group we all have to go after or something like that. It's just keeping the cycle going of it has to be someone's fault. It has to be this group.
Yeah.
I have so much. Wow.
There is just so much to unpack right here.
There is, my whole theory on this is, okay, right now we are at a point, and I say this, and I know people think I'm batshit crazy or something. We're at a point right now where the barrier to entry to so much stuff is like really, really low. And I feel like we all have to be fighting. It's like just until the government can get a hold on all this stuff, and the big corporations, so people can't get into the shit so easily. Once that's done, everything will just be nice again. So we just all be poor. I think there's like a need to kind of keep people's minds busy with bullshit so that they can't get into things that are actually important. There's so much shit that if you look around and I try to tell people that and they don't get it. It's like, especially now, because the whole thing is like this victim mentality. And it's like, you almost have to be told that you can't do something to make sure that you don't do it. It's like, tell everybody that they can't succeed here so they don't get involved there. It's like, it doesn't make sense. You can learn so much stuff just by going on YouTube or going on Google. There's so much random information out there for people to get. And this is the shit people are like arguing over, microaggressions and random shit. It's like, oh, and you don't understand. No, I do understand. It's bullshit. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and what's fucked up is that like there is actually some interesting things that we could be talking about. Like, for example, everybody complains. Wait, what'd you say?
My upcoming root canal.
Oh. Everybody complains about, like, in every urban center, if you go to, San Francisco and New York are the worst, but then also Seattle, and then even places like Austin, Texas, Chicago, basically every big urban center where people, kind of want to live if you want to have like a cool career, all of those places have become obscenely inaffordable. Like unaffordable. It's just like not possible to live there. Yeah. And of course, if you're a leftist, you think, well, that's just because of all the privileged white male software programmers. And if you're on the right, you think, well, that's just because of the liberal elites that are exploiting the labor from, blue collar America, blah 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 blah. But none of that's true. Neither of those things are true. Do you know what it really is it's fucking Chinese investors that own all of the condo projects, and they're hiding their money. They're literally hiding their money so that they don't have to pay taxes in China. As long as they are investing and they have an investment and they can declare their money is invested, they don't have to pay money to the slightly communist Chinese government. So they buy up a bunch of property development projects in the United States, and that's why there's constantly more of these being built, and nobody moves into them. If you guys live anywhere near, like I live in Seattle, and Seattle is it's ridiculous how many of like every other block there, and there's new ones being built all the time. It's like, who actually lives in these? Very few people. Like Amy, you can, or I'm sorry, sister.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Like after VidCon, my name kind of got out there. So
Okay, well,
I mean, I prefer it, but that's not. It's not.
Yeah,
like
no, I too late. Oops. But no, but you know,
it's okay, Dave, no problem.
but you can vouch for what I'm saying. Like, people aren't moving into these fucking buildings, and then it turns out that I was looking into some economic stuff. China actually might have the world's largest bubble economy, and their economy is built largely around these property development projects that they have been putting overseas in various places. And it may very well be crashing soon because they're not getting a return on their investments. And so all of this stuff could be, because it would be like, okay, so the US economy might crash because of this shit. The Chinese economy might crash because of this shit. No one's talking about it. Everybody's talking about fucking white privilege, you know? And it's like, wait, no, this is some serious shit that people should know about. So, yeah.
Well, that's not white privilege there, is it?
That's why I think everybody's talking about it. I think people are talking about stuff to keep stuff hidden. It's a lot of information going on to keep your mind busy about things that you probably really should be thinking. Like if that's a thing, that's kind of important. And that's something that people definitely should be talking about. This is the first time I've ever even heard about anything like that.
Oh yeah, you should look at Google search for Chinese hot money is what they call it. Hot money. It's like it's
as in like too hot to handle, too cold to hold.
Yeah, like hot pockets.
Yeah,
it's the term for like when it's basically a way to hide money.
Right. Hold on a second. Hold on. This is danger. Did you just say too hot to handle, too cold to hold?
Like they call the Ghostbusters in control. Had a going party for a bunch of children all the while someone's under the middle, so they packed up the group, got a crepe, proton packed to the back. Proton packed to the backs and they split. Found out about Feagles, Master of Evil. Had to bag my boys. That's not legal. Oh,
stop that!
Was that fucking Bobby Brown?
No. I love you.
I memorize things. So, yeah.
Was that Bobby Brown though?
It's the original Ghostbusters.
Rap.
The little rap. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. They call it Ghostbusters because they're in control. Had a throwaway party for a bunch of children. All the wild slams under the building. So they packed up, they broke, got a grip, came grip, grabbed the proton packs from their backs, and they split. Oh, man.
Okay.
And I can do Ice Baby on command.
The turtle power rap.
Oh God, yeah. Turtle power, Turtle power, Turtle power, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes on a half shell. We're on a mission. We got to making the enemy wishing that they stayed at home instead of fighting these ninja masters with moves like lightning. I didn't even remember that I remembered that.
So what about them Animaniacs? It's time for Animaniacs. Zany to the max. I don't know. I don't know. Stuff just sticks in my head.
I like this group.
We're zany to the max. We've got baloney in our slacks.
I think to get slightly back to this whole concept of the masses having all sorts of free time to think about weird stuff like white privilege. It is sort of a sign of prosperity that people have time to do that, right? It used to be that you had to work so much to eat that most people never got to think about anything, and only those people that were wealthy enough to have lives of leisure went to school and made these scientific discoveries, like for example Isaac Newton, right? Didn't have to think about any of this because he was wealthy enough that he didn't need to, right? And so the problem is that these quote unquote great minds that exist aren't in that state anymore. They're in the state where they need to maintain society, right? and make things still happen, whereas they used to have the leisure time to figure stuff out. And that's why we have things like calculus, and why we have economic models, and why
Are you making an argument for a return to feudalism?
No. I'm making an argument for taking technology away from people so that they have to work to eat. Take grocery stores away.
And then you have to farm for your own food. You don't have time to think about bullshit because
right. Right. For example, if you need to grow, let's say, rice to eat, you have to work pretty much 350 some odd days a year to eat. Like, so and that's for a single person. Like, so and that's how certain people that weren't the super bright were kept occupied, is that they needed to work to eat, right? And only those that were especially gifted were selected out of those pools of people to do great things, to make great music, to do all these things. They were sponsored by the super wealthy to make that happen.
Yeah. When did that go away? I want that back.
But actually,
no, it still happens actually. Like media has become Sargon talks about this, and this is something I strongly agree with him, is that media workers, and when I say media workers, I do mainly mean leftists, but then there's also like the mainstream right, and they sort of have their own thing going on. But mainly leftist media workers, which is about 92% of all media workers, they are largely being hired to peddle a very specific narrative. They aren't hired because of their talent. They are hired because they follow the rules. And I say this as somebody, I have a degree in creative writing. Like I majored in playwriting, and I studied journalism and stuff in college. And I was always very, very well liked by my teachers just because of my writing skills. I happened to be fairly talented at writing, but I would come to class late and that kind of thing. And it was always, and more than that, I've always been very independent minded, and not, I'm not going to, I'm not going to tell the teacher what they want to hear. And some teachers really like that. Other teachers, the heads of the department I was in, did not like that. Fucking head of the department fucking hated me. And it became very clear that I was never going to get a break. And you think about it, and the people who I knew who got internships at big papers and stuff like that, like people who ended up getting breaks in terms of being as a writer or an actor or something like that, it was always the people who were the goody two shoes. And that's consistently remained true throughout my life. And you can tell if you look at these people, it's like these are not people who are intrepid or imaginative. These are people who are willing to toe the party line, and they are a class of themselves. But what happened was, back in the day, it used to be that the super rich would pay just a few people, and those people would do what they wanted, and people would watch those movies and plays and read those books, and it was cool. But eventually, they realized that due to the internet and accessibility of art, they had to pay a lot more different people, and then they had to hire shittier and shittier people, because there was talented people who could get themselves known on the internet by self-promoting. So the people that they could pay off were not as talented, and that's why Hillary Clinton lost the election. Had she, if she didn't have just $1.5 billion to spend on, paying off bloggers to advocate for her, if she had $4 billion, maybe she could have won, because she could have paid off some fucking better writers. But like, the people who were writing were just fucking terrible. And it's because of the accessibility. Like, it was, yeah.
Or spending one day campaigning in Wisconsin.
She didn't go a single day, I thought.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, or spending at least one
lost
day.
Wisconsin, but she never spent one day there during the campaign.
she's like, oh, those fucking cheeseheads are gonna vote for me. Fuck those motherfuckers.
Man, she seems like a good reason specifically to go and campaign in Wisconsin, man. Like, whatever. I mean, I'm just here to talk to these people, but the cheese. I like cheese.
Anyway,
Hillary Clinton's whole, like, just her attitude of, you're supposed to vote for me, it's like, that's not how that works. You gotta you gotta do something. You gotta put some effort into this thing. And I know she did, but there was literally an expectation that she was going to win. And when she didn't, people lost their freaking mind. And it's kind of funny because I'm not like a Trump guy, but part of that was funny as hell. But I was like, you're like, really? And I'm sitting here like, it was just, I couldn't believe it because I'm sitting there going like, is it this big of a deal? This is where we're at right now. Your guy, your lady lost. She lost. She's out. It's like if Obama didn't win, I wouldn't have freaked out and been like, oh my God, they weren't gonna elect a black guy. It would just be like, okay, my guy lost. Maybe next time, But
well, she's not even the first woman to run for president, so.
Well, I think the fuck. Oh,
I do believe that one day Chelsea will probably be president. I do believe that. That there will be another Clinton president. It'll probably.
Oh God, I hope not. I don't know. Maybe. It's hard to say, but at the same time, she fucked up so disastrously by losing.
Chelsea did?
No, Hillary.
Hillary. Okay.
Yeah, because she just fucking like her campaign. Like, talk about the most alienating campaign in human history. It was all based like you said. It was like, you better vote for me. You better vote for me, or else we're gonna call you names. We're gonna fucking even people got fired from their jobs for not being in favor of her, or
is that really true?
Yeah, absolutely. People who worked in media, like there was this guy
in media. Okay.
Yes, I will tell you a true story. True story. I was going for an interview for a video gig, a videography gig, and they literally asked me, "Was I voting for Trump or Hillary?" And I'm like, and they were kind of like, "Well, we're pretty sure you're not voting for Trump." But it was just the fact of, it's like, what the hell does that have to do with, can I push a button on a fucking video camera? It's like,
I would be angry if somebody asked me that.
You should tell them that that's illegal for them to ask you that. It violates Department of Labor standards.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, like, you can't prove they asked you. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're in a room with two people. They're having this conversation. It's about some web film they want to do. And my thing is, okay, let me get this job so I can get my $250 and get the hell out of here. And so, it was just a shock because I was like, wow, that's one I never heard before. But it's like, and it's kind of funny because this wasn't like, oh my God, we're gonna be on like a big Hollywood show or something. It's like, no, you're starting a YouTube channel, dude. We freaking lax. Like, what are you doing? But that was their thing. They were like, they literally asked me, or at least the head guy, he was a doctor. He literally asked me that, and I was like, wow, that's okay. That's out of left field. I had never had anybody ask me that before, and I'm pretty sure that probably goes on in Hollywood too, like at high levels. I'm pretty sure that actually happens. Probably more than we know. So.
Yeah, there's this guy that I know who his name's Chadwick Moore, and
That's a cool name.
Chadwick is a great.
I do. I like that name.
So he was the editor and the writer for Out magazine. And he's a pretty good writer. I didn't actually really know him well. Like, I had only met him a few times. But he interviewed Milo Yiannopoulos for Out magazine, and for whatever reason, it was okay for him to give Milo a fair hearing. And so it was a really long story. It was probably about 3 or 4 pages long, and it just he treated it like he would be treating any other kind of interview type piece where he spent a fair amount of time with Milo and got to know him and talked about his background, and then he interviewed both Sean King about how much Sean King hates Milo, and then he interviewed Christina Hoff Sommers, who's a friend of Milo's, and it was very balanced. And and that guy lost his job eventually for doing that, and now he works for Milo.
Well, all right.
He had Sean King. He interviewed Sean King, the whitest black guy.
Talcum X.
I have not heard that one.
He's working for the Young Turks. I don't know if he was like the Young Turks had hired him from it. I'm like,
they paid him a lot of money too.
They're in the bottom, ain't they? And they were like, act like, yeah, we got Sean King. I'm like,
they raised money. They pay him 6 figures at least.
Sean King? That motherfucker gets money for doing what? All he does is advocate for BLM. That is it. He doesn't fucking do anything.
He's a reporter for the Young Turks.
I hope you made the air quotes when you said that. I wasn't looking at.
I did. I had funny ears up.
I wasn't even looking at the screen.
Do you think that who was that woman from Spokane? The one who's like
Rachel Dolezal?
Yeah, Dolezal.
What's her name?
Rachel Dolezal. She's transracial.
Yeah, transracial. You think that if she comes up on Sean King's Tinder, it's a left swipe or a right swipe?
Wow.
I can see how
it's right for him, left for her. I'm just saying.
I can see how Sean King. I don't use Tinder, so I don't quite understand the right and left thing. So
right is you want them, and left.
Okay. Right means you accept them as like like you're going through looking at potential people that you might want to date.
Yeah. It's like the first. It's like first base on Tinder, sort of.
First base.
But no. I can look at Sean King and I can see he's like maybe like a 1 drop. But Rachel Dolezal, like it's like so obviously she's white to me. But I suspect that Sean King colors his hair. Like he like dyes his eyebrows, dyes his hair to make it as dark as possible.
What do you think they do if Michael Jackson pops up on their Tinder?
Freak out because he's dead.
Wow.
I'm just having all kinds of like fucking mix-ups and dysphorias and shit going on here tonight.
Although it's the king of pop, everyone's probably swiping right?
This is true.
It's like a comedian, Jim Jeffries, says, how famous do you have to be? How good at your thing do you have to be that diddling kids is not a problem?
Oh, I saw that. Oh,
right? Because it's like Elvis Presley moved Priscilla into his house when she was 14 and then married her at 18.
Wait.
Oh, really?
Are you sick and tired?
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Jerry
how old was Elvis at the time?
Oh, Elvis was early 20s or something. 19.
I'm thinking you have to be as famous as R. Kelly right now. Is what I'm.
Holy shit, that is so weird. He actually did that with Priscilla because doesn't that make her marriage later on to Michael Jackson that much more weird?
Her daughter married Michael Jackson.
No.
Lisa Marie Presley.
Oh, yeah.
Her daughter with Elvis.
No, it makes it weird.
Oh my god! Speaking of like pedophiles, did you guys? No, you guys. You have to watch it. Just today, Blair White did a stream with Onision.
Oh,
Ooh.
God, I watched that.
I only got about
what
10
was it
minutes
about?
into it, and it was kind of exhausting because it's basically just Blair yelling at him and then telling him to because no, he will not shut up. Like she's trying to say something and he's just mumbling the whole time. He's like, "Well, that's actually not true because like I mean Blair is blah, 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 blah." And she's like, oh my god, seriously, shut up. Seriously, I'm gonna meet you. But it is quite funny because
Mute him.
It was so funny. I watched that thing and I was like, what the hell? I tweeted about that. I'm like, what the hell am I watching right now? There are two standout Blair White streams. This is the second one. And the one she did about VidCon and about the weird girl that
crazy hair.
Yeah, crazy hair. That stream had me dying. I was like, what the? There's no point in time where I wish I was at a place so bad. I was like, I wish I could have been here for. And it was like that stream. Because I think that was what was that, like a 3 hour stream? And I sat there for that whole thing. I'm like, this right here is some wild shit. And it's like this is something you get some popcorn for, you sit down, and you just get ready. That was wild. I'm like,
buckle up, kiddies.
I was like, what is twice listening to stream? I said, what the hell am I listening to right now? It was that was a great stream.
What was Onision on Blair White's channel stream for?
Just being Nathyn. I agree with her on the fact that what I believe is his channel is indeed dying. He hasn't reinvented himself enough to get new people to watch him, and I think people are getting kind of tired of his old of like his insanity. So he says, "Hey, I'm going to go on Blair White stream and maybe try to breathe some new life into my my career." That's what I believe. That's what because she brought up an excellent point, which was, I invited you to do this before. Why are you just now deciding to do it? I think it has everything to do with
numbers,
with him needing more views and more money. So that's that's my take on it. I think he just
seems likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. A lot of the people that are, our general community talk about that are sort of the lol cows, or the ones who, everybody creates these dramatic response videos to, like Copper Cab and Onision and who was the guy? I don't want to invoke his name because I'm not meaning it in a bad way, but the guy. Why is that a question that you had to ask, Data? The guy that shot his girlfriend. What was his?
Russian Deadpool, skeptic feminist.
Yeah, Russian Deadpool. That's right. I guess that I feel like sometimes I need a lol cow so I can make response videos, but I don't actually watch those guys' channels. I know about them largely from just people that I see shit posting on Twitter, because I'll watch one or two of these people's videos, kind of if I see their name, and then I see they're just like insane, right? And they're just babbling bullshit, and I can't be arsed to waste my time watching all of that just so I can make a response video. Like, I want to respond to it, but at the same time, I got fucking shit to do, Like,
yeah, it's hard to get into those boring people channels. Like,
well, some people that are locals just aggravate you, and you like I'm mostly into science, and so people that do like flat Earth stuff bother me, and so I can get obsessed with their stuff. Or that goth guy that says that science is irrational.
Who?
There's this goth guy that is saying that science isn't rational because it's not deductive.
I think some of these people are trolls, though. I
They
truly,
must be.
yeah, I truly think a lot of those people are trolls because, like, who's the guy? Black Hitler, total troll. And it's like
You think so?
I think he's getting paid by some sort of fucking Soros or some shit.
I think he is a total troll who basically knows how to make money on it. And it's like I try to pay attention to people that are so over the top that it's kind of like I think between him,
He's definitely acting.
huh?
He's definitely acting.
Yeah,
But I don't know to what degree he doesn't at least sort of believe what he's saying. But it's like, yeah, he's definitely there's definitely some sort of money making thing going on with him. He used to work in the entertainment business anyway, like that. He's confessed that.
I'm not shocked at all.
No, you can tell he's a fucking actor, like because it's no, he's way too exaggerated. And but I have met Uhuru people, like that is a real organization, and they are pretty fucking wacky. Like they.
Who is it? What's the organization?
Uhuru.
Like Lieutenant Uhuru?
No.
It's OHURU.
It is like a lieutenant. What's it mean?
I don't know, actually, but they say it as a greeting to each other. And a friend of mine got wrapped up in it.
I totally missed a conversation.
What are they?
They're the African People's Socialist Party or something. They're basically like a they're a cult. To be perfectly honest, they get people's money. Okay, so they're black supremacist in if you study like what they're actually saying, but what they would prefer to do is, I mean, well, okay, ultimately they're not going to be fucking overthrowing the U.S. government and whatever the fuck they're talking about. What they do is they convince people to feel guilty and donate money to their organization, and they prey on the goodwill of white people largely and Asian people, and there's really only a few black people involved in it, and there's and you know
shocking.
Yeah, because most black people are like, no, you're fucking crazy. But there's a few that are like, oh wait, this is a good way for me to make money. And the friend of mine who got involved in it was an Asian girl, and she'll admit to you that she's always been kind of a pushover. They were able to simultaneously play with her paranoia about white people, because, you know, being a racial minority, it's kind of awkward. Like, she had a few experiences where she dated guys that said that they only were dating her because they wanted to try something exotic and things like that. So she was, you know, this was in her early 20s. She was just going through kind of an impressionable phase. So they were able to be like, yeah, white people suck. That's racism, white supremacy. And so she was like, yeah. But then they were like, yeah, except for you got to stay after the meeting and make the photocopies because you have Asian privilege and shit. So she was like constantly doing, yeah, it was bad. Like they were totally using her, and they were always like, I stayed with her for like one weekend, and they called like every hour. The fucking Uhuru people were calling her about some shit, and it's like, Jesus fuck. And she eventually got tired of them, and now but it was funny because I was able to show her Ghazi, because this was in like 2002 through 2004 probably that she was involved in it, and it was way different back then. And I showed her Ghazi Kozo, and she was like, "No way, no, that's not. No, he doesn't really represent. No, you know, like, because they did not have like some crazy gay guy back then. But you know, now everything has to be intersectional, feminist, blah blah blah, and so you can't have a straight black guy doing anything activist anymore. Like that. That's not cool. So
yeah, but is he handicapped?
Can I ask you a question, Nathyn? I'm curious. Do you know who your boy Pat is by any chance?
Who?
Your boy Pat?
Not that I know of.
No. Okay. He's another YouTuber, and he's kind of in the, you know, anti-SJW community or whatever. But he talks a lot, because I have him on Facebook as well. And so he talks a lot about how he gets tons of shit for being a black guy that is not basically on the liberal train, right? And how he gets called coon and all. Do you suffer from that sort of thing as well? Because your views are not exactly always in line with the, you know, I guess the virtue signaling narratives that are out there.
Not as much, because I think that my views are my views tend to veer more toward finances, which is that people when you start talking money, people's ears perk up. People are more. I think people are more likely to. Let me put it like this. I think a lot of times when Black people talk about these issues, it becomes just a thing of, okay, we're just going to talk about the politics of it. But when you start talking about the finances of it, that's when people start saying, oh, well, this might be a little something I want to hear. But even that is kind of like, even that's kind of like a thing, because people now have been kind of almost taught to move away from. It's like if you start talking about money, you're going to have only two real. It's going to affect people two major ways. They're either going to want to listen to what you're saying, or they're going to push you away, because they've been taught XYZ thing about money. And this is not like a thing of, you know, it's like I'm not like a rich guy or anything, but it's a thing about producing a product, having something to sell, having something to give, having something to make money. A lot of these groups that are around now, they are, in my, you know, from what I'm hearing, they're communists. And you listen to the things that they're talking about. And right now we have the ability to produce things ourselves. And it seems like there's a push to get that ability out of our hands. And nobody really wants to hear about, because I talk to people, and one of the things I hear people say is, I don't want to do all that. I'm not interested in doing all of this. I want to do this thing and kind of not be bothered. I don't want to be bothered with all of that. Well, if you don't want to be bothered with all that, then you don't have the power. Like, the power is in your hand to do what you want. You say you want to say this. For me, it's you know, you want to see more Black characters. You want to see more Black comic book characters. You want to see more Black people in film. Well, go make a film. That's what I did. I have a film called Crisis Function. I said, you know, you don't see a lot of Black female action heroes. I made a film about Black female action heroes.
Yeah.
You know, it's you put your stuff out there, but it's like people don't want to hear that. So people are kind of quick to kind of be angry at you if you don't. But you also have to keep in mind too, that's a certain segment of the population, and that's, and I know it doesn't sound too good, but it's a segment of the population that can easily be ignored because they're more of the, what I would deem the ignorant sector of the population. Everybody has that population. It's like they want to feel oppressed so that they can have something to fight against. It's something that you feel you need to do. And it's not something that's going to make you successful, but I mean, it feels good.
At least they feel like they're doing something.
Yeah, you feel like you're doing, you feel like you're fighting an injustice. It's like when the whole thing happened with the Wall Street Journal. And I was mad. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get them. And it's like, dude, you ain't gonna do shit against the Wall Street Journal. Okay? It's like, you can be mad all you want. You can, yeah, it may, and you know, plus realistically, I feel that YouTube was kind of in on the whole thing because it allowed them to do some things they wanted to do. But I was mad. And it felt good. It felt really good because I was mad and I wasn't going to take it anymore. We're going to take down the Wall Street Journal. And then over time, it was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And whatever's going to happen.
Wall Street Journal's doing a good job of killing themselves off, man. Was it Sargon of Akkad that did the whole thing on PewDiePie where, I can't remember if it was Sargon or Teal Deer, but I think it was one of them that was looking at the numbers of sales
Sargon
from
did
the Wall
that.
Street Journal versus PewDiePie's like 54 million subscriber base. Like,
Yeah, and how many views his videos get compared to like how much their shit gets. Yeah, he's way bigger than them.
like
And
unbelievably bigger. Yeah, and they're declining and have been for like the last 10 years or something like that.
you
I
know,
don't know.
and there's a really funny, weird thing that's going on is that okay, so I still have a mammoth amount of SJWs on my Facebook friend list. Like I have close to 1,500 Facebook friends that are SJ, and about 80% of them are SJWs. And I would have more like 2,000, probably over 2,000, if I didn't become kind of a shitlord a few years ago. And, yeah, because I mean, you know, it was like everybody in my friend group was sort of veering towards being SJWs. And you know, and I consider myself very non-bigoted. I try very, very hard not to be, and I have done lots of work, creative collaborations with all genders, all skin colors, just because I like diversity, not because I was an SJW, you know. But when everybody got weird, you know, I eventually it was like, no, I am not jumping off this cliff together. Like, you guys are trying to pull me on, but I'm not going to, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. You know, and so I've become estranged from these people, and they have been trying as hard as they can to maintain their delusion that somehow they're the good people, and that everybody who doesn't agree with everything that they say and doesn't care about microaggressions and blah blah, that you know, people like me are the bad people. And the only way to maintain that delusion is by only looking at corporate media. Like, you have to be, and I literally know people, like this one guy was so upset at that Trump was attacking mainstream media. He was so mad that he was like, I just signed up for a subscription to the New York Times. I've never had one, but fuck Trump. And it was just like, that is the stupidest ass thing ever. But
I honestly think that like the media just imploding, the leftist media imploding. I mean, granted, I've never exactly been a fan of Fox, you know, but I like what's happening in the media because they are just losing their minds over Donald Trump every fucking day, right? I mean, I don't know, like, never in my life can I recall, like, prior to now, ever watching Fox News and going, oh, Fox News had something legit to say today. Like, I've never fucking liked Fox News, right? I hate it, just generally speaking. And then the other day, like this last weekend or something, I come across this Fox News thing, and I'm like, well,
wait, that's true.
God, that's just like totally reasonable. Like, Fox News just said something totally reasonable. And I thought the left must be so motherfucking far to the left that Fox News doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah, they don't have to lie anymore.
Yeah, they just have to be like, well, that's kind of radical, don't you think?
Yeah,
and then all right-thinking people are kind of like, you know.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson's the man. Like, he's fucking hilarious. I love Tucker Carlson. But but so I've been looking at my Facebook. I mostly don't really argue with them anymore because I realized that if I lost too many of them as friends, I wouldn't have material for my videos. Because I have to at least lurk.
Dirty opportunist.
Yeah, and some of them realized, like, they were telling each other, like, hey, don't get into arguments with him. He'll totally fucking take your arguments and make a video about it. Some of them are starting to get burnt out on the insanity of their bubble. I'm seeing them post things like, hey, guys, I took a break from all social media and I stopped reading the news because I just couldn't do it. Everything made me too angry. Do you guys have any suggestions of like what I should do? Because I feel like I want to know what's going on in the world. And I tell them, I'm like, yeah, look to alternative media. It's all on YouTube. And they want to be like, oh, YouTube doesn't count. It's not real. And it's like, no, everything on YouTube, you know, you have to find the right stuff. Sure, you have to
cite their sources.
Yeah,
But
you
a
have
lot
to
of
be
people aren't good at
engaged.
doing that.
A lot of people aren't doing what?
A lot of people aren't good at figuring out what is good media and what isn't, and that's why we're having such a strong divide. It's really easy to just say, "Oh, go find alternative," but like it's not that straightforward. There's a huge mass of media out there that all claims to be right and fact driven, and most of it isn't.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this drive a lot of divides.
The Young Turks and what is his name? Paul Joseph Watson.
Yeah. No, and you know, these people, I have been telling them this for years, literally. Like, hey, you guys, if you guys want to actually get good media, you have to find it on YouTube. I can give you a list of 10, 15 channels that I like pretty well to get you started, and you can, you know, see what you like from those. But the thing is that these are people who, they don't know me as like a news media guy. They know me from my music career when I used to be just wasted all the time because I was a rock star. And so they don't think I'm smart in this kind of way. And like, regardless of whether I'm smart or not, like they didn't want to believe me when I was telling them all this stuff prior to the election. You know, like I was telling them, you guys, Hillary Clinton's just a fucking liar. And, you know, all feminists are liars, basically. Like, they basically can't stop lying because all of it is based on a lie. And blah, blah. And they were like, shut up, you're a conservative. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not even a conservative. I'm just telling the fucking truth, you know? And like, then it got to be, they became so invested in blowing me off that even still they it's like they associate YouTube with me and this side of this argument that they don't want to hear. But it's like eventually they're going to have to see the light. Like there's going to be a breaking point in which all of these people realize that mainstream media and this whole fake narrative of it's all it is paranoia inducing, and it's going to make them miserable, and there is an alternative. And they're going to and those when that finally happens, like those companies will fold.
Yep.
So,
and it's going to happen soon too.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead.
I think it's going to happen soon too. I think you're going to have a lot of media outlets that are going to fold, or they're going to change. My problem is, I think that because nobody ever does anything with moderation. I mean that never happens. I have a fear of swinging too far right. I always try to get people started with the Philip DeFranco show. And I know it's like, you know, people, you know, say what you will, but I love Philip DeFranco. I think it's the most even-handed thing on the internet right now. And I'm like, it's a good starting place, and then you can go from there and, you know, see what kind of makes sense. But I think that there's so few people who are willing to say, here's one side, here's another side. I mean, even someone like me, I tend to argue. I tend to have an even-handed. I tend to argue for what I deem to be common sense. But even me, I'm not particularly like, it's this side. The way he breaks down his arguments, then he's like, well, this is my opinion. I love that. I don't see anybody else really doing that. And I think that's the way it should be done, frankly.
Yeah, he's really good in that kind of way. I agree with you. He's a great starting point.
Is he the guy that Sargon referenced when he made his response video to the VidCon producers about he made his video and he was responding to the two guys that put on VidCon, and in it he said, you know, I'm just gonna link you to what this guy had to say about this situation, and kind of, you know, sort of propped this guy up as sort of being the gold standard of fair and balanced.
I think, but I also think it might have been because I think Phil DeFranco knows I think he knows the Wall brothers. So because I think they all like started way back, you know, back in the old. I mean, because I remember watching Phil DeFranco back in the Lisa Nova days. So
yeah, I don't know who he is actually. So
yeah, I think, you know. Wait, say it again. I'm sorry.
I don't know who he is. Like I don't think I even heard the name until Sargon made that video where he was referencing him. Then I was like, who is this guy? But then again, I didn't know who PewDiePie was until Wall Street. I mean, I knew the name PewDiePie, but I didn't know anything about him. So
I think Philip DeFranco is probably apparently CNN's worst nightmare. I guess their competition on YouTube. Right now, he was talking about how he was doing a report about the stabbing, and he was talking about how he couldn't even talk about the stabbing without getting demonetized, but CNN could show they could show all the video and everything because they're considered real news. Like CNN, Fox, anything that's corporate is considered real news.
Right.
Well, Google doesn't want to upset corporations.
Yeah.
Google doesn't want to upset other corporations.
Right. So it's only specific news channels that are considered real, and it's all the shit that's as fake can be. If you're doing corporate, you're real news. It does it's like that old Key and Peele skit about the unicorn. Was the Pegasus? It's like the news reporters, they're having a slow news day, just make up some shit about a Pegasus. You can literally do that right now, and you would be real news on CNN, on YouTube, as long as you're CNN or Fox or MSNBC. If you're any of those stations, you could do that. And YouTube be like, it's real news.
There was a day a couple of decades ago in which the news for one of the big cities came on to the evening news and said nothing interesting happened today, and then ended. They literally ended the broadcast and switched to classical music.
Now that's real news right there. That's real.
That would make me happy.
But the very idea that they need to fill time in news reporting is what makes news terrible to me. Like,
cool.
If it all had to be told in 30 minutes, everything they wanted to say, I would be happier.
I think the key is, to take the money out of news. It's like you can't sell ads. There should be a thing where like you can't sell ads on it, or you can't. There has to be some way to make it where
that's an interesting.
You have to report real news. There should be fines and shit. Like they used to have a.
Who decides?
Kind of a public network.
Yeah,
public access thing where it can't be. Yeah, that's actually an interesting idea. I really like the fact that alternative media is starting to become a thing, because I genuinely feel that there are a number of YouTubers that I contribute to their Patreon channels, and I often think I should just go and contribute to more, even if I don't have time to watch all that stuff. I feel like I'd rather give my money to that, than mainstream media. And there's only one way to fix that, and it's to punch it in the wallet. Stop watching it, because watching it means you're seeing advertisers' ads, so you have to stop watching it, and then you have to put your money someplace else. Like, give other people the ability to do what you want to see done. And I really like kind of this surge of alternate media that we're seeing. Right. So anyway, I still would be happy though if they played classical music after.
I just hope that eventually we get some more television and movies, because like I have fucking full-length scripts that I want to get fucking produced, and like I'm better at that than I am at fucking political commentary. But
why don't you do it? Oops, sorry.
I don't know how to. I'm not an organized person. Sister's been over to my house.
Neither am I. It doesn't stop me.
Yeah. Well, I want to be able to. Ultimately, it's the one movie that I have it's loose. It's inspired by the life of Anita Sarkeesian, except for my film is in an alternate reality where she's only in her early 20s. She's an undergrad, and then she gets caught up in making video game criticisms, even though she's not actually a real gamer. And then this politician pressures her into keeping going, and the politician's kind of like Hillary Clinton. And it's fictional. In my script, you're supposed to kind of like her. And if somebody wrote like Anita Sarkeesian, the true Hollywood story, it would be like you would have to make her into an awful human being if it was her. But the point of my script is like I want feminists to want to watch my movie, to watch it and be like, yeah, see, she seems nice. She seems, and then as the plot goes on, it's like, oh, why did she do that? Oh God, she's kind of a cunt. Oh God. And then by the end of the movie, it's like, oh wait, all of that's true. She really did do all those bad things in real life. And it's like, yeah, basically, actually she did more. And then people will be like, oh geez, that's why people hate her. Like I want it to be in the mid ground, you know, and I think that we need more media like that. And it would only be like $25,000 or less to produce it. It would be really easy to make this movie. But at the same time, it's like, would I get smeared? Would they treat me like the red pill and stuff? You know, so I don't know.
I mean,
somebody can Sorry, go ahead, Nathan.
No. No. What are you saying? Because I was just gonna say if you're gonna no say what you're saying and I'll say what I'm saying.
Wait.
Go sister, talk.
Okay, well, because I was maybe going to kind of change the subject a little bit. Well, segue really rather than change the subject, but that's why I said go ahead and go first because I was going to segue.
What I was saying was basically, if you're going to do a film like that, you really have to do it it has to be super subversive. It's like you would have to kind of tell people on the DL, like as the movie's coming out or something, get the word out there somehow, like on the DL, like, yeah, this is about Anita Sarkeesian. And because I'm sure people on the internet would be like, ooh, you know, people on YouTube would watch that and be like, oh, you're wrong for this. I saw they did something like that on one of those court shows. It's one of those court shows that is like they do the dramatizations. But you could tell it was the Zoe Quinn incident that they were going with. I was like, I'm gonna look this person up. I'm like,
yeah, it was on like Law and Order or some shit.
No, this was on one. You know how they have those daytime court shows? Like some of them are actually like America's Court. Yeah, it was America's Court. America's Court is a dramatization. It's not like a real. They take the cases, they drum like the guy's a real judge, but the show is dramatized. And it was like literally this was the Zoe Quinn case that they were using. Because I was looking, I was like, really? Like, that's Zoe Quinn. I know what they're doing. Because like I said, I got to go see if this person's a real person. And they didn't come up. I'm like, this person's not real. And then later I saw they dramatized the case. I'm like, okay, that's the Zoe Quinn case they're running with right there. And I knew it from the things that were happening in the case. So if you did a movie like that, if I'm watching that, I'm definitely going to know who that's based on. So you would have to kind of, you know, slide it in there and just make it like it's a story about this woman who does X, and just, you know, let it be what it is, and then people will figure it out later on. So
in this script, everyone's going to know who it is as soon as she does feminist video game criticism.
Yeah, everybody.
No matter when you introduce that in a movie, as soon as that happens, everyone's going to know who that's supposed to be.
Unless you switch it from video games to comic books.
Instead of the Feminist Weekly or Feminist Frequency, can you call it something like, you know, the Cuntly Currently or something?
The Cunley Often.
Now the way it goes, I know how this works. See,
it's
like
the feminist wavelength.
Said and done, Anita Sarkeesian is gonna kick my ass. I know how this works. And I'm just like, she's like you, and I'm gonna be the one who gets my ass kicked. I know how it goes. I know how this happens all the time.
Well, you'll see the big hoop earrings early.
Oh my god.
It's not me that said it. It's just smacking me. That might do some good numbers on my channel. I can use that ad revenue.
Oh man. So okay. So what I was gonna say was somebody in the chat like forever ago, like a half hour ago, I think it was a while back. But they asked, and I kind of wanted to hear your guys' answers to this because I thought it was a interesting question. Let me see if I can find it. I have to like scroll way the fuck up. Why do Americans frown upon social justice warriors and feminists? And so they said at least it was Moose Gal, and they said at least they find that to be true online. And I thought, well, I know why I don't like social justice, like that social justice / feminism, but I'm kind of curious to hear what your guys' answers are.
I think in general, Americans aren't anti-SJW. That's not the general census in America. Like most people would think that
I'll disagree with you on that.
What did you say?
I said I'm gonna disagree with him on that one.
You think most of America is anti-SJW?
Yeah, and
is that only people over the age of 30?
I think a lot of people under the age of 30 are. This is I talked about this a little bit today in a video I did. There's a difference between social justice and social justice warriors.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that it got hijacked.
Yeah, it really. There's such a difference between. Okay, there's such a difference between what is happening right now, and I love these comparisons they try to do. Where they try to they try to pretend like they're the old civil rights movement. It's like, no, you're not. Nothing you're saying or doing matches that, except okay, you march sometimes. It is so. The stuff that they're fighting over is so. Back in the day, what people wanted was a very simple thing. They wanted equality, which means they wanted equal consideration for X thing, and they wanted that so that they could be in America and they could build their lives. Very simple shit. Okay, very simple stuff. Just give me equality so that I can have the same. And we talk about this, the same access to, jobs, money.
I agree. That's clearly the way it was in the 60s.
Right.
That's the whole reason we made reparations to begin with, because
exactly. Yes. And it was about finances, and it was about family life. It was about being able to create a life in the country. What they're talking about now has almost zero to do with that. There's some very small kernels of truth. Yes, we can talk about police brutality. If you're talking about, it's one thing to say, okay, we have some bad cops out there. Now, yes, that's true. We know that. So let's go after the bad cops. You don't go after all cops. All cops haven't done shit to you. Go after the bad cops because they're the problem. But we get one thing, and then, you look at what's going on in some of these colleges, and there's so much shit that could just be stopped by somebody simply saying, no, you're not going to do that. And then they'll say, we're going to do it. And then you say, no, you're not. And they'll stop.
Right. There was a college last year that had this protest in the administrative building. And it was going on all night, and eventually the president of the university or whatever comes to the crowd and says, hey, it's 4 o'clock in the morning right now. This building has to open for people to come into work tomorrow morning at 8. If you're still here at 6 a.m., we're going to check your student IDs. for student IDs. If you don't have one, you'll be arrested, and if we find out you're a student later, you'll be expelled. If you have a student ID, you will be expelled. So you can stay for the next 2 hours, but just know that that's happening at 6 a.m. The fucking protest was over. They left before he walked away.
Simple. These people are not tough. They act this way because you allow it. And the minute you step to them and say, this is over and done, they go home because they don't want to fight about this shit. They don't even believe half the shit. I don't believe they believe that. I think there's certain people who really believe it. They're in it 100%, and they're the minority. They're not the majority. Half of these people are doing shit because they can do it and get away with it. And it's like, okay, you're doing this. Okay, well, now that you got this, talk to me about how you're going to help these marginalized people out financially. How are you going to do this? I guarantee you not one of them have any thought to that says, okay, well, we're going to teach them how to make businesses. We're going to teach them how to gain financial access, how to get into these various enterprises.
Tell them not to study African studies.
Right. It's all the stuff is, and the biggest, and they say stuff all the time about women getting into STEM. If you want women in STEM, stop taking feminist class and go into STEM. It's not hard. It's like stop. Nobody. It's very obvious that nobody wants to do certain things, and they're not. It's like you have every opportunity to do certain things nowadays. Half the shit you can learn on the internet, you can already be learning that before you get into the school. But there's so much going on where people are simply doing what's easier. It's easier to actually bitch about something than it is to do it. You can sit up and talk about something all day, and that will not get it done. You can bitch about things that are happening to you and all this stuff. And I find it amusing. You go to these protests and everybody's oppressed. Everybody's got a fucking $800 phone. What the fuck is this? How's that going on? I don't have an $800 phone. I had to buy a computer with $800. I got this shit. This is $30. What are you talking about? Everybody's got. It's like somebody's got some money. Somebody's doing pretty good to be so oppressed, and yet. Everybody's oppressed. Everybody's having a hard time. Everybody's going through hell. And everybody's got like nice cars, nice clothes, expensive ass
You know
phones.
what's interesting? Like, can I interject there for a sec?
Mm-hmm.
You saying that for some reason made me think of one of the panels that I was at VidCon, where they were talking about. Because when you look at who is protesting, right, it's just tons and tons of college age, millennial-y type, that's the huge crowd that protests, right? And one of the things that they were saying was in that the millennial generation, with some periphery there, is very big on being a part of a cause. There's two things that really drive them, I guess, in marketing, and one of them is feeling like they're doing like it's a group activity. So they're really big on like you and your friends do this thing, right? So anything that's presented to them is kind of like, go do this fun thing with your friends or teamwork or that. Oh, just a minute. Hey.
So I'll say while she's gone.
There was a dog that scared my kitty. So the other thing outside of like the teamwork, group activities and whatnot is that the millennials are apparently quite motivated by feeling like they are a part of some sort of cause that's a good cause, that they perceive as being a good cause. And it doesn't much matter whether or not they believe in that cause per se, like that they have an in-depth understanding of it, as long as they feel like they're participating in some kind of a movement that's a positive movement.
Yes.
And so it's interesting when you say that, like all these people are out here doing these protests and they've got their phones. And it made me wonder suddenly whether or not the whole act of protesting is actually almost a social, like a social tool. You know, like some people used to go to raves, right, and listen to a bunch of techno music and, you know, do or whatever. And these guys all get together and they go rally for a good cause or protest for a good cause.
It becomes a center of their identity. You mean?
Yeah.
Rather than having a team sport, they do this. Like,
oh, absolutely, they absolutely do that, and yeah, and it's been encouraged by the government. Like Black Lives Matter was completely facilitated by the Democratic establishment. They all agreed with it, and they never had cops breaking up those people that were, you know, blocking traffic on the fucking freeway. Like they were completely 100% unopposed, acting like they were oppressed. And the reason why is because propaganda was legalized in 2012 after the
Wait, what?
Yes. Okay. After the economy crashed. Yeah, this is stuff I had conspiracy theories about all this stuff, and then it turned out it wasn't a conspiracy theory because one, it's true. Two, it wasn't illegal. It was completely legal what they did. So after the economy crashed in 2007, 2008, Obama bailed out the big banks, and people didn't expect that to happen necessarily, or I mean, regardless of whether they expected it to happen or not, that a lot of the people who were most opposed to the fact that he bailed out the big banks were leftists. Democratic type voters were the people who made up the Occupy protests, largely. And then people ended up voting for Obama again, and ultimately the thing that they are pretty sure that ensured his victory was the fact that he's black. The people who voted, like the black community in 2012 was larger as a voter turnout proportionally to white community, and that was the only year it ever was. And they exit polling data showed that a lot of people voted for him because he was black. I know I did. Like, honestly, it was like a no-brainer to me. I was like, cool, yeah, black guy. Because I didn't pay attention to politics at that point in my life.
Pretty sure.
And it's funny you say that because Hillary Clinton was mad as hell at us. Like, y'all ain't vote for us. It's like, hey.
Yeah. She figured that she should get the same treatment. She's like, well, I'm a fucking woman. And, you know, like, no, you're not. Okay, and but so what happened was then after he won again, they were like, whoa, that's weird. You know, the economy is shit. The economy had not recovered by 2012. In fact, it got worse in a lot of ways. And so they're like, well, that's weird that I got reelected. Well, we need to start lying to the American people. So in 2012, they overturned the Smith-Mundt Act, which was put in place in, I think, the 40s to stop the American government from using propaganda. Now, granted, I'm sure the American government has used propaganda anyway, but it became blatantly legal for them to use propaganda. And they started blatantly lying about the state of the economy. All of a sudden, they were like, oh, the economy is back. Everything's great. And it's like, did it seem like that to anybody that we actually know? Because everybody that I know is in debt and can't afford their like fucking next month's rent if they had to.
I'm just going to read this really fast because I didn't know what the Smith-Mundt Act was. So I'm just going to read it really fast for anybody that might be like me out there listening. But,
okay.
Introduced in the House on May 10th, 2012. Ooh, good job. Good call, Prince. To amend this is fascinating verbiage here. To amend the United States Information and Educational Act of 1948 to authorize the domestic dissemination of information and material about the United States intended primarily for foreign audiences and for other purposes.
I like the way they say
Like,
for other purposes.
Yeah.
That's always
Yeah.
Well, and for foreign audiences. Like, man, it's like reading this is in and of itself the very propaganda that it clears the path for, right? Like the verbiage here is so, kind of innocuous sounding, right? And no, that's fascinating. Anyway, go on. Back to what you were saying now.
Well, so then they started they were just trying to lie and distract the American population, which is why there was like a total basically government funded protest against the American government. It was like Black Lives Matter was entirely controlled opposition, and you can kind of tell. But like Alicia Garza, it seems like she's like CIA or something. If you watch her enough, like she's smart, but she's not honest.
And the guy that was leading Black Lives Matter, he's kind of like, hey, I'm not part of that anymore. It's like the main guy. He's like, nah, I'm good on that. I'm not with them anymore.
Who exactly are you talking about?
What is his name? He was just talking. He just had a thing recently where he was saying Planet of the Apes were.
DeRay McKesson.
Yeah, him.
He's over it.
Yeah, he's kind of like I'm good.
That's interesting.
I think everything that's happened within I would say probably the past 4 or 5 years, all that shit was like I believe bought and paid for. I believe everything that's happening right now is just like you said, it's the government going against the government. And when you talk about CNN, they just don't give a damn anymore. They're like, listen, we go this way, and you have to accept it. It's so. I heard this is funny because like Joy. Well, what's the show? Joy in the AM or I think the one. It's 11 o'clock. She was asking this one woman why people didn't believe, why they believed CNN was fake news. And I was like, really? That's you're really gonna ask this person this question? And of course, she gave some kind of fluffy answer that was completely not the thing. But the fact that you would step and ask that, you know that the public sentiment is, oh, this is bullshit. And it's not like there are people who are still watching CNN and Fox and all these news stations, and they accept what they're saying. But there's a huge group of people, and I kind of want to say I think it's the majority of people. Maybe it's a small majority of people who are looking at these networks and going, everything you're saying, I'm taking with a grain of salt because you guys lie. And I don't know. I'm hoping that's where we're at right now, where the majority of people in America are saying, you guys are lying to us. Now, the question is, when it gets to a boiling point, how far, how much does it take for the whole thing to fall apart? Is my question. It's like, how long does it take for the whole infrastructure to just crumble?
The infrastructure involving the
media and the media government connection and all that stuff. Because like if you had told me, this is stuff that we all kind of thought in the back of our minds, but we didn't necessarily want it like to be proven to be true, and now it's proven to be true, and you're like, and it's not like let me put it like this. Right now, their whole thing is, okay, Trump's ties to Russia. Okay, I'm gonna go and say Trump has ties to Russia. I'm going with that.
Sure.
But
whatever.
Well, he's fucking married to a Russian.
With the same amount of evidence, you can say that CNN has ties to the Democratic Party. It's like you use the same standard. It's kind of like, come on, guys, you're agents for the Democratic Party. That's kind of shitty considering you're supposed to be a news organization. So, you know, their big thing right now is trying to prove that Trump is, you know, connected with the Russians. Well, we've already proved that you guys are connected with the Democrats. So what's really going on here? It's this thing that they are openly saying we are a biased news network. And, you know, it's like when Fox was doing it, everybody was kind of like, okay, well, that's Fox News. But when CNN does it, they're supposed to be the real news. And it's like, oh, wow, you're the bias, you're just as biased as they are. So who is the real news? Is it MSNBC? Is it, you know, the local? Who's real right now? Who's real?
Here's a quick aside. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead, and I'm going to pour myself a glass of wine. And I'm going to give us a 30-minute warning.
It occurs to me, sticking on the sort of politics thing, to be honest, I haven't been paying that much attention lately. But there's nothing illegal with Trump having ties to a foreign country. I mean, I don't understand.
There are illegal ties. He rigged there's claims that Russia influenced the election, which they've been known to do, and that's the issue. If he has ties to that, and then you influence an election.
What do you mean by influence the election?
Like Russia hired hackers to attack media, do things like that. They
media. That's fine.
They spread their own propaganda.
If they don't change voting machines, then it's not illegal. It's nothing more than what we do in, say, the French election. You know, we spent money in the French election, right? So the United States influenced France's election. How is that not the same problem?
Well, it's really just a matter of a question is, as a citizen, do you want your president in the pocket of another country? Like, I personally don't, so I have a problem with it. Saying, like, we did it in France, well, that's France's decision to just what they do with theirs. Like, I mean, that's a shitty way to put it, but I'm American and I care about my president.
Well, but then you've never had a president that wasn't in the hands of another country.
Yes and no.
Nor has there been a candidate for president that didn't have ties to another country. Or take, for example, Hillary Clinton, who got over $1 billion from Saudi Arabia for her campaign, over 200 million rather, right? Yeah. Saudi Arabia paid mostly for her campaign.
But see, I think the issue with Trump is, number one, Russia is like, when you talk, Russia is generally our arch enemy in theory.
Is it really? I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're an enemy to me.
They're our biggest competition.
Right.
Because they're a first world country, like a superpower.
And they compete over the same oil sources, and we aren't as economic. Like in China, we trade with, but Russia's
economy is pretty shitty right now. So
yeah, China's is very likely too, though, and it's like a bubble economy. It's very strange times indeed.
So Russia's economy isn't very strong. We're much stronger than theirs. Look at the value of the ruble. Like it's.
But if they could get, see, the fear is them using us to obviously to gain headway, and Trump seems like he's pretty easily manipulated in certain areas, and the amount of friendliness that he has with Russia, I mean, just be personally, it's uncomfortable. It's like I'd see it as, okay, you got McDonald's, you got Burger King, and they're competition, but the guy who's running McDonald's is really cool with the guy is like really cool with people in the other. The shareholders are sitting there like, we need to make money, but the guy over McDonald's is kicking it. You know, he's real buddy with the Burger King guy, and like it seems like it could affect the bottom line. The question is, what could happen from this? It's not. It doesn't feel good. It's like if you want to do it on your spare time, you do it. But when you're president, it becomes. Frankly, I don't like the Clintons being connected with Saudi Arabia. I don't any of that shit. It's like,
I'm not saying I like any of this. I'm just saying that.
but it's a thing of, especially when it's up in your face and it's very. And I understand that CNN is definitely trying to catch Trump up in something, but the thing about it is, no matter what, there's enough information there that is uncomfortable. And are you gonna kill that sister major? You gonna get that? Wow. The focus. Did anybody see the focus that went into that right there? The solid focus that just happened. Wow.
I'm sorry. It was just.
That was like, he zeroed in on it and was just like, boom. I was like, wow.
Oh my God. Oh no. Sorry, that was a complete derail, and I did not mean to derail you guys like that. Although I will admit that I'm like, how did we get from the question that was asked to Russia and our election? I'm not sure where that occurred.
We were talking about propaganda.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Propaganda. That's right.
Thank you for retracing that step for me. Yeah. Okay. So, what about you, Brian? What are your thoughts on feminism, social justice, anti-social justice, blah 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 blah?
Oh, for the most part, with those people, they're just conversation killers. They mob together, and instead of listening, they just scream their stuff at you. And if you disagree with them in any way, I mean, all they do is just label you as being the anti that, as opposed to hearing it. And as a collective, it's destroying our capability of having real conversations in society, because if you can't say something controversial without people actually hearing it, you've lost your ability to talk. And so most of social justice warriors and a lot of feminists, I think, drive those issues.
I have a sort of a I think that's a great point, actually, but I have this sort of idea that's been percolating around there. It comes from an interview with Richard Feynman. He was talking about, Richard Feynman is the famous physicist.
Feynman. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear who you said.
Okay, his father was a tailor when he was growing up, and he talked about how his father gave him this lesson where he said, well, I could teach you, you see that bird, I could teach you the name of that bird in every language in the world, and you would know nothing about that bird. Right? And the idea is that the names we give things aren't as important as the ideas underneath them. And so one of the problems that I think might exist, and not that I have a solution for this, but I think this might be a sort of a root cause problem, is we've given names to groups of ideas and opinions rather than having conversations with each and every person about what they believe and what they think. We're letting the labels of these groups that they identify with control what we think about that other person.
It's becoming a shorthand.
Right. And the shorthand of names of things is only really useful for the experts in those fields.
Right.
And so if people just started forgetting what the word feminism meant and just talked about what they thought about women,
yeah,
the world would be a better place.
Feminism. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to finish by saying, and the same is true for every other set of ideas, whether it's politics or what have you.
I one of the things I like to point out to people when people talk about the definition of the word feminism or the definition of the word racism, what's a good way to clarify to people how this discussion becomes obfuscated and annoying is that racism is, ask them first if they know the difference between a descriptive and a prescriptive definition. And a prescriptive definition is something that you first have to prescribe, and then it, like you, an abstract character would be a prescriptive. Like you name the character, and then and then a descriptive is something that you can naturally observe. And then you tell them racism is a descriptive definition. It's a social trend that you notice. And people like to say that racism was invented by white people, but that's fucking bullshit. There's no way that that's true. As long as there's been tribes that looked different than each other, there had to have been racism, obviously. And however, feminism is a prescriptive definition. Without the word feminism, we wouldn't know of feminism. Like there wouldn't necessarily be. And you could.
So can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
So. Is the idea behind prescriptive that it puts forth the idea of what it is, and then it seeks in a confirmation bias way to
not necessarily confirmation bias. You have to fill in the definition of it. It's an abstract idea that's not necessarily naturally observable. Like for example, a lot of men's rights advocates, they say that feminism is just an extension of chivalry and gynocentrism, which is like the notion that in humans as a species are more inclined to cater to the comfort of women and protect women because of biological imperative. Because if you especially during tribal societies, if all the women died, or if 90% of the women died, you'd probably die out as a tribe, because women die in childbirth so often. And so, but if 90% of the men die out, you can repopulate because they can breed. And so it's a biological imperative. Gynocentrism, that's what that means. Gynocentrism in a word is sort of, but that's a naturally observable thing. And a lot of men's rights advocates would say that feminism is sort of like a political manifestation of gynocentrism. However, we don't need the word feminism, because feminists can always sort of just say it's some other thing. And we can't really prove that wrong, because there is no set definition of what feminism means. It literally does. No, feminists will always go back to the dictionary definition, but then you ask them, well, what is your feminism? And then they'll go on for hours. They'll be like, oh, well, my feminism is blah, 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 blah. It's intersectional, and it's nah, 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 nah. It's like, okay, so clearly it's more than that. It's more than the dictionary definition. And so you tell them the difference between a prescriptive, it's like prescriptive definition and a descriptive definition. And then you say, descriptive definitions are tend to be things that are harder to change. Like it's a lot harder to change the definition of racism, because we all know what racism is. Like you don't have to really explain it. But feminism, of course you can change it, because it's sort of a nonsense word, And but why is it that the same people are giving honorary treatment to the word feminism in the dictionary and saying it's absolute? All that feminism means is equality. That's all. And then they're trying to also deny the word racism as valid. And that's a very odd paradox. So,
and I find it amusing that they're using kind of like the definition of like institutional racism for racism now, so that they can say everybody has the right to be racist against white people or whatever the group is. But when you're doing racist stuff, it's fine. As long as you're not white, the racism is fine. And it's like,
It's back to the 2 K thing.
it's like, how is that like a thing?
Can I
I
ask
mean,
you a question about that? Just like what you're saying right now.
mhm.
How would you differentiate between racism and not liking a motherfucker? Like, I mean, there's nothing in the world that says I have to like anybody else. I can literally hate Joe because Joe's just fucking stupid and I don't like morons if that's how I feel about it. Okay. And let's say that's the case. Let's just say I fucking hate stupid people. Okay. Like, if the second that I have ascertained that I think someone's an idiot, I'm just like, fuck, I don't want to deal with this asshole anymore, or whatever, right? How do we differentiate between I just don't like idiots and I'm racist or ist or whatever it is, phobic, or give it a name, against idiots?
Well, if you prejudged everyone with, say, green eyes as being idiots without having to meet them to find out if they were idiots, then it would be some sort of ism related to eye color in this case, right? But if it were related to some race, like all Jews are stupid or something, I don't know, whatever.
I think what she's asking is, how do you actually, because even with those things, you can't particularly differentiate that unless you know that person.
Yeah, exactly. They look the same in action.
Right. If it's two, let's just say it's two people. If me and another black guy get into it and we don't like each other, nobody's going to just openly assume racism. Now, if I get like a fight with a white guy and we don't like each other, then somebody could easily assume, well, that white guy is racist without even knowing why they're fighting. How do you know I'm not the racist? How do you know that I like white people? I might be like, screw white people. You don't know. But the assumption will automatically be, well, this white guy could be racist. Maybe that's what this is all about. And I think that's something more now than, let's just say, 10 years ago, or maybe even 20, like even in the 90s. I mean, it seems like we've regressed to a point where the automatic assumption is something automatically political. We have totally forgot that, in real life, shit happens. And it's got nothing to do with, stuff goes on that has nothing to do with politics, race, etc. Stuff just happens. And we're at a point now where nothing just happens anymore. There has to be a reason behind it. And that reason always has to be one of the isms. It's racism, it's sexism, it's phobia, it's something that caused you to have this reaction when, just like you said, you could just simply not like the person. The person,
right? It's a faulty theory of mind. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying it's a faulty theory of mind. It's attributing thoughts to other people when you have no way to know what they are.
Right? So part of the reason that I bring this up is because I feel like it's important to be able to intellectually distinguish between these two things, between actual racism and somebody who just doesn't like a thing, right? Because those ideas seem really conflated. And I was watching just over the weekend, I was watching the Oxford Union debates, and I wrote about this actually on my Facebook. I think it was Sunday that I wrote this kind of a post talking about how when people are talking about safe spaces, for example, they have a whole bunch of descriptors that are kind of these common descriptors for what a safe space entails. Where people feel safe, they're not intimidated and they aren't being aggressed and they aren't being attacked, right? And I found it interesting because of all these little descriptors that and these were repeated by both the proposition and the opposition in this particular debate. These same kind of little triad of descriptors. And what I found interesting about them was that only one of those actual descriptors was a thing that can be readily identified. And that was people being attacked. You know when someone means to insult you. Now, whether or not you get offended by that is still, that ball is in your court. But you know when a person means to offend you, because the language that they use must be directed at you as a person. However, when you throw that, like, that is a really clear thing in our language when we intentionally direct an insult at somebody, right? Even if it's kind of a backhanded insult, it still must be directed at them. And when you, I guess my thought here was that when you conflate that with ambiguous things like, I feel intimidated. Well, what the fuck does that mean? That could mean anything under the sun, right? That's all your interpretation, not necessarily based on anything. I mean, people get intimidated all on their own. I was just scared to go in there because I'm a shy introvert, you know.
Yeah.
And so I guess that, like, what I'm getting at is that when we conflate these ideas of, like, if you dislike something and it's not your race that you appear to be, right, that means it's racism. When that isn't the case, if somebody insults you, or like if you feel intimidated, it's the same thing as somebody directly insulting you, and those aren't the same thing. They're distinctly different in my mind. But well, I feel like they've become really, really confuddled with one another. Is that a word, confuddled?
Yeah.
Isn't it confounded?
I like confuddled. I'm using my power as a human right there to just fucking invent things.
But no, what you're saying is true. I like to say that, quote unquote, safe spaces, they're absolutely not safe. What they are is spaces that are under SJW law, kind of like Sharia law.
Well, it's very similar to that difference between prescriptive and descriptive you were talking about, where they prescribe a situation they want in this safe space,
yeah,
right? But that the reality of it can be described as total authoritarian oppression, really, right?
Yeah.
People aren't allowed to express ideas because they could offend somebody, right?
Unless you're a black lesbian in a wheelchair.
Right.
Hey guys,
exactly.
Can I pause for a minute? I said I was going to give us a 30-minute warning 25 minutes ago, and so we have 5 minutes until that 30-minute warning is up. Do you guys want to keep going, or do you not?
I could keep going.
I'm having fun, so
I'm cool for a while.
Okay, cool.
So what I was saying is that the problem is that reality forces us to switch to descriptive things, right? Perceptions of the way it works, and when we look at what a safe space is descriptively, it's untenable. It's not something we shouldn't abide by, right? And this is, I think, the fundamental the fundamental problem with some ideas is that when prescriptive ideas that sound good get implemented, that when you're forced to describe them later, they're not the good things that you wanted. So
yeah, another thing that really pisses me off is in practice, the safe spaces. What it leads to is something you said touched on this. It leads to people because what you were saying was that you know when someone's attacking you. Well, no, the people who are into safe spaces and stuff, they'll find a way around that. Yeah. They'll come up with new passive aggressive insults that only other and the example that I always use is that if you're hanging out with intersectional feminists, if you're a man and you're on Facebook or something and they call you bro, that's a fucking insult. That's a huge insult. they might as well be they might as well be calling you a. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Did you not know that?
I would have known that.
Yeah. No, and that's why they do it, because not everyone knows. It's an in-group.
They're saying it like snidely. They're like, okay, whatever, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, and they might as well be saying, okay, whatever, you're just a stupid ass tool of the patriarchy. I bet you watch rape porn. Like they might as well be saying that.
It's a way to basically, if there's conversation happening, it's basically a way to automatically check that person to say, okay, this is a person that's coming from this. Now that person may not be coming from that angle.
Yeah.
But it's a way to automatically say, yeah, you're coming from that angle. This is the guy we need to watch out for because he's gonna say this. Now, of course, what it does to the conversation is,
she might not think that you're going to be offended by it, but she's she's telling all her sisters that you're the bad guy.
exactly.
Well, but the reason why they're getting away with this as an attack is because they're on the same side, and notice I'm using the air quotes, as the czar in charge of figuring out if this space is safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and they can change the rules anytime they want. There was a period a few months ago where feminists were trying to say that calling women females is offensive.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah, because that's just how much power they thought that they had. They thought that they could change the rules that much, and yet they get to call men bro. Like, you know, a 35-year-old man, like a 35-year-old gay man, knowing damn well that we know that feminists don't talk like that. They don't call people bro. That's not how they talk. So it is definitely an insult. But then they'll deny that it's an insult. I'll be like, look, I'm not your bro, little missy. And they'll be like, oh, how dare you call me little missy? I'm like, well, I'm not your fucking bro. Don't call me bro. You know, like.
Ooh, how's a little quid pro quo working for you? Oh my gosh, that makes me so mad. To calling women is offensive. You know what? Fuck off. Not everyone in the world is upset about their fucking gender or their sex or anything. In fact, most of the world isn't upset about it, to be quite blunt and probably politically incorrect and frank all at the same time. Oh my God, it makes me so mad. It's just like, look what happens when I drink like 3 sips of wine. I just like, I lose my shit, right? Like, it does though, because I guess that there's this crusade that they're on isn't about equality and everybody. It's not about it's not about you being who you want to be and you being empowered. Because if it was, you wouldn't rip on people for being okay with themselves. But yeah. I will be goddamn if you want people to hate you. The quickest way to get that to happen is to not be concerned with what they think, to be comfortable in your own skin and just okay with life in general. And people fucking hate it. They hate seeing other people be successful. They hate seeing other people be happy.
Well, especially in the Northwest.
Oh man, well, I guess that's true. I really say that from the general perspective of where I'm living. But
yeah, because I think that's so bad about that in New York. Like in New York City, if you are interesting and successful, people want to be your friend.
Yeah, like here, they shun you. They
fucking hate it. You know, they'll talk shit about you behind your back, and then they'll never ever bother to actually talk to you to your face because they don't want to find out that the shit that they were talking about you behind your back might not be true. They would prefer to just hate you without getting to know you. But that's a very specific thing to the Northwest. But one thing I want to say is that SJW culture, I really do think it is about oppression. It is about oppressing people. And I don't just mean it's about oppressing white men. It's about oppressing anybody who doesn't have the time and resources to educating, because it's a constant game that you have to constantly play. You have to read the right blogs or watch the right, watch Cat Black videos. And if you don't have time to do that, you're going to make mistakes and they're going to come after you. So it's an elitist thing, and it therefore oppresses largely white working class males, but fucking, like the vast majority of black men are not SJWs if you actually meet them.
I agree. Hold on. I'm just going to quick object to the use of the word elitist because there's nothing elite about it.
Oh, well, sure.
But it does describe what you're saying.
Yeah.
Has anybody have you guys seen that Scientology documentary? I saw it. Oh my God, it's
the suppressive persons and stuff like that, right?
Yes. But if you look at if you look at the way the SJW culture, particularly like the big people, the ones we know. I mean, if the ones who are so vocal, if you look at how they act and how they respond, it is the same thing. It's like you think about what happened with Lacey Green. That shit was the same thing to the point of it's just stalking her because she did something. And this is the fun thing about it. Like, the difference between, because people are like, I've had this conversation with people. So, well, what's the difference between the cult and a church? You can leave your church. And if I leave my church right now, my church would be like, this is done, and then they'll get back to business. You leave a cult, they will either do what it takes to bring you back in. They will disconnect from you. Whatever your friends are, you're done. You don't have those friends anymore because you're the bad guy, you're the outsider. So you look at what happened with Lacey Green. She said, okay, I'm going to make a decision, my own decision to do whatever. Just talk to some people you don't like. And there are people saying we need to do X to her to make sure this does. It's like, who the fuck are you? What?
Yeah.
And if you watch that movie, it is the same. It is so in the head where this person is now an enemy because they've done this thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It's just we are upset with you that you didn't follow what we deem to be directions, what we deem to be the way you did not follow. So
man, yeah, I see your point.
You have to watch it. I actually rented it. You can rent it on you can actually rent it on YouTube. But even before that, there's an actor who did like a 2-hour this 2-hour discussion about it. It's like the way they get in your head is it's the same shit. We're saying that we're going to help you. It's helpful. We're going to help you. Trust us. And then they get in your head and they start, it's like, we're going to help you, but it's going to cost you some money. Don't worry. And they'll jump through hoops to get you this money because they're so well connected. It's so much the same shit where it's like, they can get you these things, but you're going to pay, you're going to give them the money. The money they get you, you're going to give it to them. And the money that they get you, you're going to give it to them.
Huh. Have you heard of the Landmark Forum?
No, I haven't.
It's like a self-help kind of pyramid scheme cult sort of thing where, it's pretty weird. But the SJWs do have that that they terrorize people. Like if somebody stops believing their shit, then they will try to socially sabotage that person. It happened to Ian Miles Chung pretty bad. They try to say he's an Asian guy, obviously, Chong, you know, but they try to say he's a Nazi now, and like it's happened really bad with me.
Actually know anything about Hitler? Seriously?
No. If they did, they would be like, because it's like everything they're doing is what Hitler would do.
Oh, I get so angry. The whole, like, you're literally Hitler. I've watched. My grandfather was in World War II, you know, and Dachau, and I guess that I mean, I'm very fascinated by Nazi Germany because of the horror that it caused. In the same way that I'm actually, it's not limited to Nazi Germany. I read actually a lot of really dark shit all the time, just like on torture and just horrible things, you know, Nanking, just stuff like that. I'm very fascinated by it, not because it's interesting to me, but because every time I read and learn more about these things, they are so horrible. I mean, it makes me cry sometimes. I literally like started drinking one night, taking a bath, and I'm reading this book, and it was The Rape of Nanking, and I started reading it, and I just like got more and more and more fucking depressed at how absolutely hideous, stunningly horrible humanity is to one another. And I call up my brother on the phone, and I'm like, blah, 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 and just like crying at him and blathering about nothing. And then I went to bed. But it's like, it makes me angry to see them use it the way that they do, because I really feel like they should be forced, I mean, just Clockwork Orange, to just sit down and watch the live footage of soldiers going into the concentration camps and the things that they found, read the Nuremberg trials, and see how absolutely insane these people were, and hear the testimonies, the actual testimonies of people that worked in concentration camps and that lived near concentration camps, people that were in them and survived.
Or the Holocaust Museum that's in DC.
It gives me goosebumps. It's so horrible. Like, we as a fucking race, if there is anything we have goddamn perfected, it is how to fuck with each other in a supreme victory kind of a way. I mean, we really come up with terrible things to do to one another, you know, and every time I read about these things and I learn more about them, it actually makes me radically more sympathetic to my fellow man. Like, I feel like I become more humane, more compassionate, because I think to myself, my God, look at the travesties we've committed. Let us never be that way again. And then you have these motherfuckers on Twitter and running around in colleges going, you're literally Hitler. I don't think you know what the fuck you're talking about. And I'm not even an expert on the topic by any stretch of the imagination, but Jesus God, like, do you understand that pretty much calling anybody that doesn't qualify as an Aryan literally Hitler means you kind of don't know what Hitler was about?
Yeah, it's
you know,
it is clear that there's too much distance between knowledge of these events and people using them. I am sure that if we were to have more knowledge of history, Hitler wouldn't seem that bad, right?
Yeah,
Because,
I mean, if we were going to take Mao and fucking Stalin,
if we just go further back in time, right? If we compare Hitler to, say, Genghis Khan or something.
Oh, Genghis Khan was terrible.
Right,
that guy
right.
Just like
these are people we know
through
about.
Mongolia, murdering everybody.
But there are probably tons of people that we know little about that were worse monsters, right?
Oh yeah, there's no. Yeah,
but we have too much distance from them, so we don't have it. But we have so much information on World War II. There is no reason to be so ignorant of World War II history.
Yeah.
Like I was I went to the National Holocaust Museum in DC last year, and I was devastated by the experience.
That's cool. I mean, that didn't come out right.
they have it organized where there are three or four stories, and they have you start at the top story, right? And you go down, and you end up in this basement, right, where they have gas canisters from the concentration camps and stuff like that. But they end your whole tour with the memorial to people that rescued Jewish people from Germany.
Like
right?
Schindler
Here's like Schindler. Here's a person that rescued over 1,000 Jews, sailing them across the sea on his boat, 8 people at a time. Right? When they found him, they killed everyone on the boat and him.
Okay, okay, so I do have to give a little bit of a warning because I do need to get off of here by 10 o'clock at the latest. But I have a question. I would love to go to Auschwitz. Like, I would be creeped out and just like, I think like brought to my internal knees by stepping foot in a place like that. Just,
right.
It would be very powerful, I think.
I would want to go.
So sorry, I'm going to back up to the question I was going to ask if I can remember what it was. Say what you said right before I said I was going to ask a question.
I was saying something about the rescuers.
Yes. Right. So I sit here and I say these things, right, about how I think that humanity is terrible and we do very, very terrible things to one another. And I sit here and I think to myself, I would like to think of myself as more humane than to ever do something like that, right? But then I ask myself, if you were in a situation where you didn't know that the person you were encountering was an enemy or a friend, and you only knew, for example, like let's just say like the United States and Mexico were at war with one another, and you come across a situation where you have the ability to at least spare someone's life, if not directly, indirectly, by say walking away and not killing them, as opposed to killing them, which you
wait, sorry, how does this work again?
No, okay. So let's say Mexico and the United States are in a war with one another, okay? That means when you are out there on the front lines, you're killing Mexicans and they're killing Americans, right? Okay. Let's say you come upon a situation where you come across a Mexican, they're wounded, right? You can save their life. They can't hurt you. They can't kill you. They're too wounded to hurt you. But you can save their life by walking away and not killing them and just letting whatever is going to happen. Or you can do what you're supposed to do because you're a fucking soldier in war and you can just kill them, right? What decision would you make there, right? Because the humanitarian says walk away, but the military tactician says you fucking shoot them because they are the enemy and they could get up to come back and kill you another day, right? So what do you do? What kind of a decision do you make there? Because aren't we sort of in that weird situation right now with the Middle East? Like our government is pitting us against them like that. Like, what if we went to war? You know, how would you know when you look at somebody, is that like a human being or is that my enemy? And how do you think you would make decisions if you were in that sort of situation?
So I've actually thought about this rather recently. I would like to think I would walk away, but I'm not sure that is so. But what I find rather assuring is I was recently reading a book called The Men Who Stare at Goats, which is totally aside, but in an early chapter it introduced this concept. Basically, in World War II, I think, or Korea, they discovered that quite a lot of people that were not signing up themselves, but drafted for war, about 80% of those people drafted wouldn't actually shoot at the enemy. They would fire their round. They would look like they were soldiering, but they would shoot specifically above the head.
Oh, didn't they talk about that in that episode of Black Mirror?
Of what?
I'm sure that has happened, but it's a rather famous study. It was done shortly after.
Sorry, what Prince said? Episode of what?
Black Mirror. There's a show called Black Mirror, and there was an episode about soldiers. So.
I don't know because I haven't seen the show.
Okay.
But I do know Charles Booker is involved in it, but that's a total aside. At any rate, but this was a big study done, and the whole reason they came up with PsyOps is because they wanted to create soldiers that wouldn't have this problem. But about 20% of soldiers would just go ahead and kill the enemy because their training was just strong enough or whatever. But so I find that a little bit reassuring that even with basic military training, there's a large portion of the population that could not go that final step to take the life of someone they can see.
Yeah, people say that one of the only reasons it went up in Vietnam was all on fucking heroin.
Wait a minute, say it again.
All right, was that like super heavy and deep right there? Did I just like descend into the fucking tunnel of darkness?
In Vietnam, the amount of people who were actively, like, actually killing people, it went up. Like, a lot more American soldiers were actually killed people.
That's true.
But it was because they were, like, a very large percentage of them were on heroin. And heroin totally clouds your judgment, and I used to do heroin back in the day. I used to have a problem. And yeah, let me tell you, it's the kind of thing where, like, when you're high on heroin, you could do just about anything and not think twice about it. It's weird.
Is it because you're just not in your right head?
Yeah, and it makes you feel really, really good in a just sort of like over like you stop caring about how you're actually doing. I like to tell people that metaphorically the best way to describe what it's like to be on heroin is it's like you take all of your problems and you teleport them onto the full moon. And so it's like you can see your problems if you choose to look at them, but it's confined to this little full moon sort of up in the sky, and it's far away. And your problems are going to come back, but while you're high, you're cool.
Huh. I've never done heroin, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's not good to do.
Also, in Vietnam, they experimented a lot with LSD in soldiers, so in an effort to get them to kill more people.
You know what? LSD in war, that results in Zoolander. I am the jungle. I killed Amanda. What? You killed Amanda? Who's Amanda? No, I killed Amanda.
That's not Zoolander. That's Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
You went full retard there.
Oh my god! Did you just use the word retard? You know that. You take that back right now.
That's a Chris Ray-Gun thing there.
Oh my goodness. Ooh, yeah, actually, I saw on his, okay, I guess he's kind of been doing a series, but I only saw the Little Mermaid one that he did, some song. I can't remember what it was about now. I do remember liking it though, because I really liked the Little Mermaid, and I was like, I think it was done to the tune Under the Sea. What was it? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. It's like real recent though. Like in this last week, I think it came out on his channel, and It made me very happy. Except for I was a little bit jealous of his ability to filk, basically. I was like, wow, the video production here is great. Like, I hate you a little bit. Just a little bit, though, because it's the video production on, like, a Little Mermaid filk song, and I love Little Mermaid, so that lessens my hate. Like, I wish I had the ability to better record music, because if I did, I would take Vernaculous's advice and I would just start filking the shit out of stuff. Like, it'd be so great. I have all kinds of songs that stuck in my head. They need to be written and they need to be sung. Yeah. And they need to make fun of everybody.
That would be fun.
Oh my god, CBS News just admitted that Hillary Clinton is still less popular than Trump. Oh shit. Jesus fuck. Stop it. Also, I love it that Linda Sarsour is beefing with CNN.
Oh, yes! Fucking
What's going on? What's happening?
Linda Sarsour, I think that she has to be controlled opposition. Like she has to be some sort of paid agent by the government. She's just too much.
Okay, first of all, do you know what her husband does for a living?
No.
The dude is like a gas station attendant or something. Don't quote me on that because that's not probably exactly right. But I went and looked up. I was like, you know, who's this woman married to anyway? Because the things she's doing right now are, it would imply that she comes from money of some sort. So I went and I was dinking around. Her husband had the most remarkably mundane and unspeakable job. Like I'm a convenience store worker sort of thing. And yet his wife is this, national figure at this point for the movement that she's in. And I found that really interesting given how their general society is, Jesus.
Well,
if there's any place that needs feminism, it's the Middle East.
Right, that implies that he is not strong enough to control her, right? Like, he's not high enough status to maintain control.
Or maybe that's exactly why she married him to begin with. Like, maybe she, purposefully picked a guy who, in their particular society, she knew wouldn't be able to stop her from doing whatever she wanted to do. Right? It's like, maybe she married down, to use the term, way down on purpose.
Right, like if her husband's lower status than her father, then she would do whatever she wanted, right?
Right.
Because unless her father objects, and he's not going to bother because she's married off.
Right, and as long as she's making them fucking millions of dollars, I'm sure they, just like every religious person under the sun, they can find all kinds of justifications in their holy book. What she's doing is the woman's version of jihad. Oh God, I couldn't believe that she said that. And
she's so awful. She reminds me of that fucking. Do you guys remember? Did you guys ever watch that movie Jesus Camp?
I know of it, but I haven't seen it. 5 minutes, by the way.
The woman, the head of the Jesus Camp. It's crazy. It was like this evangelical indoctrination center for kids, and it was very clear that it was politically motivated. Like they had them worship like a fucking cardboard cutout of George W. Bush and shit. It was like, okay, this is very partisan, obviously.
They try to get you to read Harry Potter.
Oh yeah. That was one of the best parts. There was this they did the same thing that the SJWs do, like where they convince you that you can only watch a very, very limited amount of media. Like you can only watch or listen to a very small amount of media, so that and everything else is satanic or problematic or whatever. And the head woman was this. It was this woman, and she was this like.
Is she? Sorry, was she just like a holy roller? Like.
Yes.
Yeah, but she acted like Linda Sarsour, kinda. Like she was that level of aggressive and crazy.
Yeah, she was a little bit. It was a little bit more than holy roller. It was.
Like she's like a Southern Baptist, like she was on fire.
No, she was crazy. Like this was just really intense.
Yeah, and she had this thing where, for some reason, in the past few years, every Republican candidate has been sent by God, apparently, and George Bush was.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy.
No. This is how she talked. She would be like,
I know.
No, I'll tell sister because
I
I remember it very well. Like she'd be like, yeah, and the left wing, they're shaking in their boots. They don't know what to do with people like me. They don't know what to do with my army. They don't know what to do with people like me. They're shaking in their boots. Animal rights activists, they're terrified. They know that the army of God's coming to get them, and they don't know what to do. And she starts speaking in tongues and shit. Like, she was fucking nuts.
She was turning these kids into her army of God. Soldiers in her army of God.
And people wonder what the fuck the problem is with religion.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just tribalism. Is like Jordan B. Peterson has some good. People want.
He's religious, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And what the point that he makes is that, like, if people don't have religion, they will still be tribalistic. They'll still look up to somebody for how to give them orders. So he figures, well, might as well be a Christian because we live in the West and Western values are based on Christianity. That's his point. I'm not saying I agree with it. Not saying I agree with it. But
I know you're not saying that. I know you're not saying that.
But you're
paraphrasing.
It's a good point, but he also deeply criticizes.
Oh, it's a terrible point.
No. It's a good point because he also criticizes it at the same time. Now, I don't know how he completely reconciles the fact that he's a Christian, and I don't know what his version of Christianity is. But he criticizes. Okay, so if you Western civilization was based on Christian values, and so even if as no matter how non-Christian we are, we're still affected by the golden rule and things like that, to a certain degree. Okay. God, you guys, could you let me finish? So that's the point of him sort of saying this is Christian values, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, he says that there's weird things that happen as a result of that because of the fact that Christian values are in all of our collective unconscious. Like, this is something that we all sort of are affected by to a certain degree. Another thing that is that comes as a result of that is that Jesus died when he was 33. So we don't have an archetypal model for how somebody ages morally, because our morals come from somebody who died when he was 33. So we don't have a proper archetypal model for how a father is supposed to age, for example. So
oh my God,
that is stupid. First of all, nothing in Christian morality comes from Jesus. Okay, and Jesus was awful. Like, he's the worst example of Christian morals.
Okay, hold on. Okay, go ahead, Nathan. Go.
Now, I would say that if you're talking about the Bible and you're talking about particularly the New Testament, your average person, when it comes to like me, I talked about, again, this is something else I talked about today. I didn't go in depth with it, but I tend to be religious, and even though I'm not what would be the stereotypical religious person, where I'm running around trying to force people to do this, or I have a belief in a God and a general ideal of this is how you should treat people. You should be good people. You should do X, Y, Z things because they're the right thing to do. It's going back to what we were talking about earlier about actions being right or wrong. And I think the problem that happens with a lot of people, particularly in religion, is they forget what the religion was about. And it does become tribal because everything that's happening, and it's not even just right now, but everything that's been happening is my team versus your team. So somebody asked a question. I think it was actually Jack Burchill, who's a friend of mine, YouTube friend of mine, and he asked, how is it that people see Donald Trump as a Christian? When technically, when you look at his lifestyle, it's not particularly Christian. Well, people, huh?
All it takes to be Christian is you declaring that you believe in Jesus Christ.
Well, there's at least like the 10 Commandments and shit.
10 Commandments is Old Testament, man.
It's a little bit more than that, because you actually are supposed to show that you're Christian. So a lot of people who say they're Christian and then they do a lot of just random stuff, and people, especially you have people who are they just a lot of the negative traits. And my point, I don't know if I actually got around to this, but one of the things I noticed is that if you have a person that you don't like, and then you have someone that, let's just say right now, if you're a hardcore Republican, and this guy is your guy, and he says he's Christian, you're not going to put him up to the test. You're going to say, okay, he says he's Christian. There you go. And it becomes a thing of, well, wait a minute. Is there any kind of litmus test this guy? We kind of see that he doesn't fit the bill. Well, no, all you need to fit the bill is that you need to do what we want you to do. And everything is kind of like that nowadays. And it's kind of been like that for a while, where labels only mean so much. Whereas someone like me, you know, I could say, oh, this is a perfect example. I'll put it like this, because we talked about this before. Right now, your actions don't mean anything. It's your label that means something. So if you say you're Christian, it doesn't matter if you do Christian stuff. You say you're Christian, so you're down with this group. If you're feminist, you say you're feminist, you're down with this group. We talked about this. We talked about, I don't know, we didn't discuss this.
I'm down with the Loa.
Well, you had the guy that was like, you had the male feminist that was, that people were saying was kind of harassing the women, and it's like suddenly Listen to Believe went out the window. It's like no. That's our guy. So it's like you were able to get away with whatever the hell it was because you identified with the group. Your actions suddenly didn't matter. It didn't matter what you did. It only mattered that you identified with the group. And it seems like that's when he talks about tribalism, that's the kind of tribalism that it seems as, to me, is what he's talking about. Whereas you don't have to have a litmus test. You only have to say, and half that stuff that people say, oh, you only have to confess you're this and you're, a lot of that stuff is simply, I don't want to put you through a litmus test. You say you're that, that's fine. You're down with the clip. It just expands our numbers. But what it also does is when somebody goes off the deep end, it also makes you look like shit as well, because, well, this person went off the deep end and you're not, you're going to stand there and back them up because, well, they're part of our clique. You lose that ability to say, let's distance ourselves from that person because that person's batshit crazy. It's like the like Christians have to distance themselves from what's the crazy Westboro all the time. Christians like we don't know them folks, that we don't know where they come from, and that's because they're so batshit crazy that now I'm pretty sure that somebody thinks they're not like a huge church, but there's obviously somebody out there that's down with them.
They get a tax break, so the IRS seems to like them all right.
Well, you can create any kind of religion and get that tax break.
I'm gonna create a fucking religion. Jesus Christ Almighty.
Create a family.
I just say something. We have to, I have to close this stream, but I want to say something because you and I agree on a vast amount of things, and you know, I always like watching your videos, and just like I like watching Prince's videos as well. I'm like, actually, I really like watching both of your guys' videos. But and if you guys want, you can feel free to like, if I have to give you a wrench or something, but if you send me your links, I'll put your links into the chat. But what I want to say in closing, but kind of maybe because I want to instigate you into doing this again.
What?
Is that the same reason that I do not like feminism is the same reason that I am an atheist. And it's I would posit almost the exact same arguments against both religion and feminism.
Well, you know what?
Oddly.
Whenever we get into these arguments, like, you know, you argue with people, like I do this a lot when I'm arguing with people. I'll say, you know what? Suppose a right-wing Christian was saying to you what you're saying to me now. I do that a lot. You know, even though because I usually
I'd be like, bring it on, motherfucker! Step up, put up your dukes.
Well, because
we're gonna have a showdown.
Well, because I use that because I know that typically the person is an atheist, and they're not really thinking about the thing that they're saying is dogmatic and controlling, and you know, they're not really hearing what they think they're not really hearing themselves. So if they hear somebody that they don't like or hear from, like, if you know, you say if this person was saying this to you, how would you feel? So I do use that. But
Johnny said, "Devil, just come on back if you ever want to try again."
but as far as religion, I'm not actually very religious. I am a person of faith. I do believe there is.
Like, I kind of want to talk about that though, but I really like. I have to get off. I have to get off the computer, you guys. And I so want to keep talking, but I do have to go.
Okay. Well, I have some stuff to do too. It was good to talk to you guys.
Prince, thank you so much for coming. I love you to death, and we need to like drink or something here in the near future.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's good to meet you, Prince. I see you pop up in screens all the time. I was like, yeah, that's that guy.
I'm gonna rope you guys into doing this again. Like, this was fun. So thank you, everybody, and have a good night, everybody. If you guys want, just shoot me. Actually, I have all your guys' channels, so I'm gonna put your guys' channels into the descriptor, the low bar. That way, if anybody wants to, Prince of Queens and Nathyn Brendan Masters both have channels. Please go check them out. And Newton File also has a channel. I'm not sure there's. I don't know if you have any content on there yet.
I'm planning to make content, but mostly about sciencey stuff.
Yes, sciencey types of content. So I will put everybody's links into my low bar here, and you guys can go check them out. But thank you, everybody, for watching, and I thank you guys for joining me. I had a super good time tonight, and
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay.
yeah, now I have to actually figure out how to turn this thing off. This is like my first. Here we go. Stop broadcast.